If I seem like I am. Gee whiz. This is the coolest for me, though, because we got a few hours here. We can talk about the 12 steps. We can talk about the program. Now, by the nature of what I'm going to try to accomplish here, I can assure you that I'm going to say some things that some of you guys in here don't agree with. And I think that's just so okay. When did we get in our fellowship to a point where we have to agree with everything everybody says? You with us? But we get so she's coming. Y'all need to be careful coming up on my blind side, because I'll kill you if you're not careful. Talking to the lady, I didn't know you couldn't see out of that side. Y'all could be on fire and naked and I wouldn't know it. So if y'all need my attention over here, say something, because I got you bastards covered. We got you. These guys. I work for a treatment center. And I do clerical work for a hospital. I'm not a counselor or a therapist, but I've been around the industry for a long time, and I've got some pretty strong opinions about that. And I was such a chronic relapser, guys. I was in and out of the fellowship for so many years, and I was in therapy for 10 years, and I was when I tried to commit suicide in 1987, I was taking 7 pills a day, doctor prescribed medication, and all of this was being swallowed with mass quantities of alcohol and cocaine and methamphetamine, and but the pills were a real problem. My detox was hugely compromised by prescription medication that the doctors were lovingly giving me. You seem a little tense. I am. Well, here, this will fix it. Yeah, and it was also a good diet, because everything you put in your mouth just fell right out. You're just, oh my gosh. And I see it. I'm nonstop. I travel all over the world, and no matter where I'm at, guys, it's the same story. You got a lot of well-meaning people out there trying to help us get well. So we may talk about some meds today. We may not. I don't know. But anything I say from this podium, guys, is what I'm trying to tell you. I got you for an hour, and then we'll go smoke, and you guys can decide if you want to stay or not. That's always an interesting experiment. But because y'all love me as long as you're agreeing with everything I say. And the minute I hit on something that you don't agree with, then he just can't talk to us that way. I'm out of here. I didn't come here to be preached to. It's like, rock on. I didn't come here to blow smoke up your butt either. So, I'm here to share my experience with you. And my experience might be different than your experience. A lot of us in this room, we got here through treatment centers. I happened to walk in the back door of an AA meeting. That's how I finally got sober in 1987. And our experiences are a little different. Some of us have other mental issues going on besides alcoholism. And I suppose I qualified for that too. But all of this to say is that we all got here from different paths. And our experiences are going to be different. So I try to come at this thing kind of with an open mind. We ask the newcomer, we want you to be honest, open-minded, and willingness if you want to get sober. It just seems like the door shuts about 2 years sober, 3 years sober, 10 years sober, 20 years sober. It's like, if it goes against what I believe, then I'm not listening to it. Man, shame on us. Every day they're making new advances on alcoholism and drug addiction. We're learning new things. We're seeing new techniques, there's lots of. I'm going to listen to anything, guys. I'm going to listen to the little 6-day sober guy in the back talking, and I'm going to listen to the old 60-year-old geezer talking. And I'm going to filter it through a thing called a Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if I can reconcile it with this, man, this may be good. You follow? If I can't reconcile it, it may be just a bunch of BS. You follow? What works for one may not work for the other. But what we know without a shadow of a doubt is the information in this book works for everybody. There's so many people out there in AA land, out there on the internet, taking shots at people in recovery, taking shots at our 12-step fellowships, because there's so much misunderstanding about it. If I've got one bone to pick with New York, it's that we never stood up and took care of the people that were talking crap about our fellowship. Oh, they can say anything they want. Why? Because most of it's based on not true stuff. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Some of y'all gave me reading the crowd, it's like this. If I know I'm losing you, it's like this. Your head goes, what's he talking about? I'll give you this. Years ago in early archival stuff, you can read about this. Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, those first cats that got sober, they all understood that you could recover. On the title page of the dang book they wrote said, this is the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. You'll follow? Of course, the treatment centers in the United States got busy about 1971 as a result of a wonderful piece of legislation called the Hughes Act, and we had a treatment center open on every corner. They were like Tim Hortons in the United States. You couldn't turn around without walking into somebody else wanting to verify your insurance benefits, because, buddy, we pay like slot machine. That's back in the day. I mean, everybody from Canada came across the border and got treatment in down in the United. Well, we got a bunch of you at the hospital where I work, still do. And but the treatment centers all put their own twist on this, and some. I'm trying not to cuss here. And some idiot who was trying to get somebody to stay in treatment a little longer than they needed to came up with the old idea, well, we didn't get sick overnight, we're not going to get well overnight. We'll always be recovering, which is great for the treatment center industry because I want you to recover, you with me? But as a customer, I prefer you to be recovering because then I can guarantee to get you in treatment a few more times. Now, folks, this is just the fact. You're sitting in this room thinking that you can't recover. You need to come see me after this is over. You need to come. We need to visit about this because that is a misrepresentation of what this program is about. Listen, folks, I'm 21 years sober. Could I get sick again? You better believe it. If I stop doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, I can get sick like that. I watch people do it every day. It's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this. But this idea that we have this little crappy self-help program that's going to allow you, but only one day at a time, to get well, makes me want to puke. Because it's not verified in the literature, and our experience abundantly confirms that that's not true. There are people in this room that are going to recover. They're going to get well. And from the podium, we need to be sharing that to the newcomers so they can get some hope. One of the reasons that we can't keep the young adults in our meetings. Who in the hell wants to be a part of a fellowship that guarantees that you're going to have to admit that you're sick every day? I mean, I understand the need for humility, buddy, but I mean, this is a little ridiculous here. And some of you, you're thinking, guys, you've got that look on your face. Good. I hope I say a bunch of stuff today that makes you think, that makes you question what you're doing. Because all of this is geared to do just one dadgum thing. It's to help us be more effective with the people we sponsor. My job, I believe, I was saved from the dumpsters of Houston, Texas, so that I could help another drunk get well and have a cool life to boot. I just believe that. And I watch just untold thousands of people that get well and go out and do the same thing. But I watch so many more people that get well up to a certain point. I'm not drinking one stupid day at a time, but I'm miserable. You'll follow? Thought of suicide is constantly on me. I'm eating prescription medication like it was going out of style. But I'm sober today. And we have a fellowship out there that seems to want to make that okay. And it's not. It's not representative, buddies, of the fellowship that I know and love. There's two things going on in AA. I see it in CA. I see it in Narcotics Anonymous. There's two things happening. We've got a thing called a fellowship, and we've got a thing called a program. And through the 70s and 80s, our fellowships grew. Membership in Alcoholics Anonymous doubled and doubled and doubled again. A lot of people were coming in. Our success rates dropped through the stinking toilet. They got big deal down in the States now with all the statistical stuff coming out. Well, we proved that the success rates were just as good today as they were back then. You know, buddies, any of us that have been around the rooms longer than 6 months can tell you that that's just not true. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I sponsor a bunch of guys, and I watch them just no. You do a sobriety countdown sometime at these big conferences, and you watch the little knuckleheads. Of course, in certain areas, you'll get a bunch of people at 20 years. You'll get 5 or 6 people in there. Rock on. That's a pretty good deal. You get on up towards 30, 1, 2, maybe 40. You with us? Come on, guys. Get down to one year and you'll have 400 people stand up. Well, what happened between 1 year and 5 years? The guys that did the statistical stuff, well, they just don't come to AA anymore. Yeah, you got that right. Because they're drunk. Everybody wants to get tweaky. I tell you, I'm a card-carrying member of this fellowship, and I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love Cocaine Anonymous. I love anything. There's a great new fellowship in New Jersey called ANA. It's a National Association of Recovered Addicts and Alcoholics, and they're just a bunch of little thumping bastards. I mean, they got no traditions, no nothing. They're just like little gunslingers. Let's go find somebody to fix. And I love them. You know, they're any fellowship that tries to get you connected spiritually. How can you find fault with that? You know, it's the coolest. People get tweaky. Well, I think you're taking AA's inventory. I am. Let's just get it out in the open now. I'm. Oh my gosh, I love my fellowship, folks, but things are goofy in our fellowship. Things are goofy in lots of places. I love my treatment center, but things can get goofy there because we've got too many people sharing opinions about something that they should know about and they don't know about. What gets alcoholics and addicts sober? Little brother back there pointing, yeah, it ain't the roof. Yeah, absolutely, brother. Come on, guys. It's God that gets us sober. We're going to talk about some of that. This is not some kind of little self-help program. So all I'm saying, I'm in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous for 7 years, and I can't get sober. I can't pick up a 30-day chip. Why don't they give us a 2-week chip? Damn it! I'm good at 2 weeks. I'm a 2-week wonder. Into 2 weeks, my house is clean, my car's washed, everything's taken care of, the trash is out, I'm washing clothes. God, life is, sobriety rocks. 2 weeks and 1 day, I'm sitting outside of a 7-Eleven trying to talk myself into not going in and buying a beer. And I've done this over and over and over again. I was what we call one of these functioning alcoholics. I know some of you because I recognized you coming in the door. This is exactly what you are, because we all don't hit Skid Row. And some of you guys, we've been insulated by money and by our beauty, our looks. Some of you guys are you're too damn smart. You've been insulated by your intelligence. Make sense? It's my prayer that every single one of you that are having trouble staying sober wakes up in the morning poor and ugly, and you might get this. Yeah, and sure, whatever. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can stop for periods of time. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they jam me pretty good in that. Chris, I don't know what you're doing wrong. If you just go to meetings and don't drink, you're going to be good. It's like, at the time, and I'm sitting there, little minds, grinding, go to meetings, don't drink, go. I mean, I understand it's computing. I just can't make it happen. The meeting part I got. I'm a meeting-making fool. Meeting makers make it. And I got you. Okay. But I'm proof positive that meeting makers don't make it. I'm proof positive that people that are real alcoholics and real drug addicts that just make meetings gradually go insane and either take their own life or go drink again. And a lot of nodding heads in here. We were talking last night on the death march from the board. No, we were. Those guys are good. We were going at warp speed. It's a good thing I don't know how to compute miles per hour to kilometers because we were really going fast. I don't know. In Texas, we were laughing with Ron. And in Texas, when it snows like this, we close the state down. And a lot of y'all nodding your head because you've been down there. We don't know how to drive in this stuff. It's like, slow down. We never would have gotten here if we would have been in Texas. But, oh my gosh, you guys are pros. Because I'm going to have the last laugh because a bunch of you guys are going to be in San Antonio. International AA Conference is going to be in San Antonio, my hometown, in 2010. And no, you can't stay with me. Let's just get this out now. But I got to tell you, it's going to be last laugh because you know when it is. It's July. First week in July in San Antonio, Texas. Y'all are going to die. It's just going to be... You think the hinges of hell are hot. Oh, my gosh. And it won't be like those idiots in Phoenix. Oh, but it's a dry heat. It's not, I can assure you. Oh, God. Bring a pair of shorts, a T-shirt, and oxygen. That's all I can. It's going to be good. All of y'all making fun of me freezing to death for so many years. Anyway, so in 1987, I've tried everything. I've tried AA. It drives me crazy because we see people all the time. I've tried AA. Well, did you work the steps? No. Then shut up. You didn't try. You know what I'm saying? But you didn't try AA. But that's where the people out there on the internet are taking our inventory. 90 meetings in 90 days, and I didn't get sober, so AA doesn't work. Well, who came up with that crap anyway? I'm not a big 90 meetings in 90 day kind of guy. Hey, go to as many meetings as you can possibly go to and work the dadgum steps. Take the steps so that you can have the necessary spiritual experience and recover. Then you can tell me it doesn't work. Because I've never seen one single person come up and tell me that. That's a fact. The people that do the work, folks, get well. I don't care if you're a schizophrenic on top of it. You get well. You pick up 2 chips, but you get well. So that's so stupid. That wasn't even funny. That was so not funny. Okay. But I'm in and out for the 7 years, and I'm in therapy. I'm just, I'm doing positive affirmations until the cows come home, and I'm not knocking any of that. I benefited from every bit of it. I still see a therapist occasionally. I'm a huge advocate of therapy. They can get you from point A to point B pretty quick. A good therapist that knows what they're doing, especially if they include God in the deal. So and I'm doing detoxes, and I'm outpatient. I'm doing treatment, and nothing's working. I'm in the church. I'm trying to do this in the church. I've sat naked in sweat lodges, and not in this kind of cold, but it's in tech. But I went to churches shaped like pyramids, and I did anything. We were laughing the other day. I did colonics to try to get sober, the vitamin regime and colonics. Some of y'all don't know what that is. It won't do a damn thing for your drinking, but your complexion will be flawless. I guarantee you. It'll clean you right up. And you'll feel better than you've ever felt in your life. And it's like, I think I'll have a drink, and you're off to the... So I tried to commit suicide in 1987. I'm working for my twin brother. Some of y'all know Myers, and with Primary Purpose in Dallas. And God love him. We were both drinking. We were best drinking buddies, and he if it hadn't been for him, I'd been on the street. I'd spent a short time there in Houston, but again, I'm a functioning alcoholic. I'm bouncing back, and before you know it, I got a few $100s in the bank again, and a little girlfriend. And, well, usually they weren't so little, but thank God for big women. Anyway, I just saying it like it is, and I got up from picking up a stack of return checks and went to the medicine cabinet and got a couple of bottles of pills and took them. So many people I've watched commit suicide, and guys, there's just nothing romantic about it. And there's nothing in me that wanted to be dramatic. There's no note or nothing. I just didn't. I was sick and tired of feeling the way I was feeling. We were talking about it earlier. People that are not alcoholics and drug addicts, and our family members, they know we're tortured. They can watch us, but the depth at which we stew in our own juices. When I tell you I'm going to quit, and I know that I mean it, I don't mean I'm blowing smoke sometimes. Hey baby, I'm going to quit. You and me. And it's like, but there were times I told you I was going to quit, and I knew I was going to quit. I wanted to quit. I needed to quit. And I was just done. I don't know why I've been acting like such a kid all these years. I'm done. And we're going to go down. We're going to be adults about this, and I'm just finished. And I thought I had the power to choose whether I was going to do this or not. And that's the beautiful reading that we did before. Page 24 is one of my favorite pages. It's amazing to me how many people... You want to start some controversy in your next AA meeting? Bring page 24, the first 2 paragraphs, as a topic. And watch the room empty. Because most people will say, I'm an alcoholic. I have a fatal progressive illness. I have a disease. But I can choose to pick up or not. Guys, it's all over the world. And all I can say here with all the respect that I can muster, if you can choose to do it, you're not one of us. Don't let the big door hit you on the way out. Because you're killing people with that stuff. You're killing people with that stuff. You're telling people that they can choose to do this or not. You can choose to work the steps. That's a choice we got, isn't it? Y'all chose to come here on a cold, dadgum morning. That's a choice you got to make. We make enough of those choices, guys. We're going to stay sober the rest of our lives. We're going to do the things necessary to stay spiritually connected. But this idea of presenting alcoholism and drug addiction like some kind of behavioral problem must be stopped. And the problem is we're seeing it in our meetings as much as we're seeing it in treatment centers. I tell you, you watch somebody die of end-stage alcoholism, and the sad part is the treatment centers have pulled all of that away from our groups. When I first started trying to get sober, you'd sit there in a meeting and say, buddy, you don't look so good. All of a sudden have him flop out and do a grand mal seizure right in front of you. All of a sudden it brought this whole thing very close, real close to home. You can die from this crap. For some people in this room, alcoholism and drug addiction became an inconvenience. And you put the plug in the drug and you stopped. And you wonder why all the yelling's about. He sounds angry. What's he pissed about? One day at a time, I stay sober. What's there to talk about? But I understand that, and you're welcome. But I said, but you got to understand. Bill Wilson, in the big book, we're going to talk about it in a second. Bill Wilson talks over and over. 3 different places in the book, he describes the different type of drinker. The different kinds. He continues to distill it back down to, but what about the real alcoholic? What about the real alcoholic? What about the real drug addict? Which implies that there may be some of us in these rooms that are not really alcoholic. Bill Wilson understood it. Make sense? Book says on page 34. If you've got your books, you could read them on page 34. We did this in Iceland one time, not realizing that all the page numbers were different. So all that great planning on my part was right out the window. For those who are unable to drink moderately, drug moderately, the question is how to stop altogether. We're assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. You stop right there. Now, one of my jobs as a sponsor, one of the things we're going to talk about this afternoon in one of these little sessions is some sponsorship stuff and working with others. And one of my main jobs, like the first job, is to qualify the alcoholic and the addict that I'm sitting across with to find out if I'm dealing with the real McCoy here or am I dealing with a little disco drunk. You follow? Because the little disco drunk's going to crap out and I'm not interested in wasting my time on those little knuckleheads. I want the real mad dog, like me. Because they're the only ones that can relate. We're assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. Whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. This is the baffling feature of alcoholism as we know it, this utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. Isn't that cool? It's saying quite clearly here, I'll translate it for you. If you can stop without God, you ain't one of us. And I mean stop, folks. I've just told you, I can stop on a dime for 2 or 3 weeks, a couple of months. I've done it 1,000 times. I can't stay stopped. My head always tells me it's time to go back. That's what we're going to talk about in a second, this qualifying business. And I'm just saying, see, this is what makes you uncomfortable. I sit in here and talk to you, and the little guy says, God dang, that's me. We're swapping spit, sending Christmas cards to each other. But the little guy in the back sitting there thinking, he's been questioning whether he's an alcoholic or an addict or not, and now we talk about it out of the book, and he thinks, I might not be an alcoholic. I hate that man's guts. You follow? Unbelievable. Everything is based on truth, guys. The one thing that you've got to have in order to get well in this fellowship is the ability to be honest. Would y'all agree with that? It's what it says, and we read how it works. If you can be honest, I don't care what else is going on in your life. But we base our so many sobrieties based on it on half-truths, untruths. Am I an alcoholic suffering from a fatal illness, or am I a hard drinker? There's a difference. Am I a drug addict? Because you can be one and not be the other. Am I a drug addict or a drug abuser? There's 2 different things. We have to look at that. If drinking's my problem, then detox is as hard as it's going to be. My buddy Danny up in Maine says it best. But if I'm an alcoholic, detox is just the first part. You'll follow? That's been our experience. The hard part is not getting detoxed. Y'all may think it is, When you're in it, you certainly do. You hurt like a son of a gun, especially if you're detoxing off those stupid pills. You stir on a spit for 6 months. It's just terrible and horrible. It's the next wave we're going to see, guys. The pill epidemic coming towards this direction is going to make the crack epidemic look like kids' play. Because the doctors and the stupid pharmaceutical people are working overtime telling us that we can take these pills with impunity. The problem is if you happen to be a real alcoholic and you eat those pills, you're in trouble. We're going to talk about some of that. Anyway, I took the pills and swallowed them down, and I heard a voice that night that said, "Don't do this, go back to AA." And I'm arguing with a voice because I ain't going to go nowhere close to AA again. And I picked up my last desire chip. I heard the voice 2 or 3 times that night, and I laid down on the side of the bed. I made myself sick, and the next morning I heard the voice one last time. And it was the same voice, same stuff. "Chris, don't do this, go back to AA." And I went to a doctor and got some doggy downers, and I went to work because I had to work or I'd be on the street. And at 6 o'clock that night, I was parked on a day just like overcast. No, not anywhere close to this cold, but overcast. But I was sitting behind this, and I'm less than 24 hours away from a suicide attempt, and my head's already saying, "Chrissy, Chrissy, Chrissy." You know, you're so dramatic. You know, I mean, you know, last night, a suicide attempt. Today, we're going to walk back in and going to pick up a desire chip. Why don't we slide on home, go buy Kentucky Fried Chicken, you haven't eaten. Remember, Chris, you don't want to get too hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I'm sure Living Sober is some of y'all's favorite books. It is not mine. Because that's why. I think I can fix me. If I just go get a meal, everything's going to be okay. Rock on. Okay. And I'm thinking, and I think I had my first spiritual experience as I got out of that old beat-up pickup truck, and I walked in the back door of an AA meeting. And I'd never been to this meeting, but I walked in, and it was one of the shotgun rooms, and everybody was carrying a big book and laughing their butts off, and they were all smoking. Back in the day, we could smoke in meetings, and can y'all still do that in Canada? No, back in the day. We screwed it up. If the smokers had been able to smoke one cigarette, we'd have been okay, but they got like 6 at one time. I'll show you. The only requirement for membership is a desire not to drink. I can smoke. Oh, okay, rock on. Now you've ruined it for everybody. And I was right there with them, but the ceiling's smoking, and I'm like, and I walk in and it's smoky, and they're laughing, and I know they're laughing at me, and I'm really self-conscious, and I haven't bathed in a few days, and I got a big old foot of beard, and patches perpetually crooked, and I'm just, they're laughing at me, not with me, at me. You with us? Big Book says, page 62, selfish and self-centeredness, that we think is the root of the problem. Y'all understand this? It's all about me. And I walked in, and of course they were just laughing about something else, and I start to walk out, and this little girl slid up next to me, a little 19-year-old girl, and snugged my belt loop and snagged it and set me down in a chair. She said, "Sit down, cowboy. You're not going anywhere." And that's how God works, folks. If you'd have done it, you'd have been dead. You follow? No, because I can kick a guy's butt, or at least try. It usually works the opposite way with me, but God, somebody said, "Chris, did you ever win a fight?" Never. Ever. Not once did I walk away. Taught his ass. Not once. I'm always laying on the ground. "That's the best you got, you pussy." Oh, no. Just be quiet, buddy. Just be quiet. You think I'm mouthy now. Some of y'all are the same. I can see it now. But this little girl pulled up there and she took my breath away. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't smack her. I sat down. And that was, God used this little girl to get, her sponsor had seen me trying to leave, and she said, "Get him." This little girl wasn't off in some little young adult meeting talking about young adult things. She was in mainstream AA doing exactly what she was supposed to do, trying to help another drunk. She didn't give a rat's butt what gender he was. Bless her. I'd have been dead, folks, if she hadn't, because I was a head of steam behind me to leave that room. I was thirsty and didn't feel well. Bad combination for Chris Raymond. And we sat in the meeting and they talked about it. Y'all have heard my story 1,000 times. They went around the room and they talked about hope with me, and they shared miracles with me. Not one person in those meetings shared a stupid war story. Not one. Been in AA for 7 years, and every time I'd come back in, "Well, this is a first step meeting now. We have a newcomer. Let's tell Chrissy how we got here." Why? I know how you got here. Same way I did. Is there any hope besides this? Is there any future to this? Can you wake up in a few days and not obsess about alcohol? Am I ever going to get laid again? I mean, can we talk about something that matters here? And you're going to tell me one more stupid war story? I get emails from all over the world. I got one from Africa. No kidding. I was bringing. This guy was pissed. He heard me talk about this from the podium and said, "Chris, all we have is our story." I'm so sorry. If all we have is our story, we're in trouble. Because my story never got me sober. The book on page 17 says we have a common problem. And that's one element in the cement that binds us. Y'all follow? All I got to do is sit down with you 10 seconds and visit a couple of seconds, and we're friends forever. I understand the connection, the identification. Now, the next sentence says, but we have a common solution, and that's what ties us together. Forever is the common solution. But we never seem to get around to tell the newcomer about the common solution because we're too busy trying to scare them in the rooms with the stupid war stories. Number one complaint, guys, that I hear from people coming into the fellowship is, I don't want to go back to AA because I don't want to listen to any more war stories. And I understand that. Dr. Bob understood that. He wrote extensively about it. In the early days, they didn't sit around and talk about their war stories. There's two places that they would share their story. And it's nobody else's business. From the podium is a great place to share a story. Make sense? Friday night, let's hear your story. I want to hear what you've lived through. In a 12-step call, down at Tim Hortons, you got a drunk over there. You slide over next to him. You tell him a little bit about your story, and he tells you a little bit about his, and pretty soon y'all got a little rapport, and then you can set the hook on the old bastard and get him to come to an AA meeting. You can talk to him about how you got well, but he's not even going to listen to you unless he thinks that you understand where he's coming from. I'm not saying that our stories are not important, but don't throw that crap back at me that it's all we have is our story. Those people's war stories didn't keep me coming back to that group. It was the hope that they shared with me in those meetings. Some of you people, you want to take exception. I had a guy the other day rolling his eyes. Oh, great. Just what we need. Another gratitude meeting. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I'm less than 24 hours away from a suicide attempt. I'm ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. Y'all understand? Check out for good. And now you want to give me some more war stories to add with my own. Gee, thanks. Why don't you just give me the bullets for the gun? No, come on, guys. These people went around and they said, we've seen him up here in North Texas for years picking up chips. Let's see if this cat'll stick. Let's go around and share some hope with him. And they did. They talked about credit cards and jobs and money and dating and sketch pads and art and... Damn. Rock on. Old geezer after the meeting came up and said, Chris, you want to stay sober? Are you done? And I said, well, one day at a time. He said, that's what I thought. He said, buddy, I need to explain this to you, and I understand that people do that, and if you really need that little parlor trick to keep yourself sober for a few days, rock on. But that's not what the book says. The book says that we live life one day at a time. Every day is about today. Y'all understand that? Because I can be present today with y'all and not be worried about what's happening in my hometown of Ingram, Texas, because I'm here with y'all today. How cool is that? That's what Bill Wilson was talking about. He didn't say we get up every day and decide not to drink. I can't imagine anything more painful than that. Y'all understand? It's a tough decision to make once. And now you're asking me to make it every day? Oh my God. He said, Chris, one day at a time, we're going to show you how to live life. But it comes with a commitment that you want to do this for keeps. Are you down with this? And I said, yes. And he hugged me like only people in AA can hug. God dang it, they just big old arms and And the next day they were on my doorstep and they brought me back to a meeting. And we went to a meeting in the morning, and then we went in the back room and chased a bunch of Al-Anons out of their meeting. And they were in there just talking, and we had serious business. We got on our knees and did a third step prayer. They asked me if I had a problem with God, and I said no, and we did a third step prayer. And after lunch, they gave me a notebook, and we started working on a fourth step. Boom, boom, boom. Been in AA for 7 years, never worked a single step. Nobody in 7 years had ever qualified me. You with me? Well, you're an alcoholic if you say you are. No, you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous if you say you are. You have to have certain symptoms to be an alcoholic. And if you don't have those symptoms, you ain't us. We're not collecting membership here, folks. This is life and death for us. The sad part is, the millions of other people out there that are dying, not being able to hear the message, because there's too many middle-of-the-road SOBs killing them with their opinions. Does that make sense? That's pretty hard-headed, and I probably shouldn't have said that. Let me look at my time. What's the clock? 2 weeks later, I sit on the tailgate of my truck and I have this spiritual experience. The realization that the obsession to drink and do other outside issues has gone. And I don't know when it lifted, folks, but the obsession went away. And I'm a cat that could not drink, could not obsess. And it happened, and I cried like a girl sitting on the end of that truck. And I went up to my apartment and cranked up some hot jazz and some rock and roll and washed the dishes and realized that I was on solid ground, that the promises were coming true. And this was not as a result of being around the fellowship for 7 years. This was as a result of some good sponsorship that I got when I walked in the back door of an AA meeting in Louisville, Texas, and pulled my head out of my butt and started doing the work. In order for this to work, you've got to do something. And we kill the newcomer every day when we just tell them, well, what you have to do is just come back. Why are we telling newcomers that? Come back. Keep coming back. But work the steps. In my home group, we have a bunch of accountability. We have a bunch of people that are holding each other accountable. And that's exactly what we do. We're going to talk about it later. But you come into my group a couple of days in, you're right, and I'm watching you. And if you're not sitting with a guy that's in the group, I'm going to say, buddy, what's up? You haven't got a sponsor yet? Let me help you get one. Because I've got a nest of sponsees that I sponsor that can sponsor you. You follow? And I'm going to make sure that somebody grabs hold of you so that you've got somebody to bounce stuff off of when things get crazy. You think you're going to come back to my meeting and dump your crap on our table so we can clean it up. Our meetings in Ingram, Texas are not dumping ground for personal problems. You can do it here in Canada if you want. They're called open discussion meetings. If that's what you want to do with them, that's great. But we go to literature-based meetings where we talk about God and the steps. That's the only reason. And afterwards, we go out on the picnic table. Everybody loads up, big old pocket dip, and smoke some cigars, and everybody starts talking. What's going on with your life? Because we want to know. See, the fellowship doesn't stop at the door of the meeting. The fellowship is... God, I've been so blessed. People take that stuff out of context. Just every talk I do, and they say, well, but if I couldn't have talked about my problems when I first got here, I never could have stayed sober. I understand that, sweetie. You selfish bitch. But let me ask you a question. Sometimes cussing can be humorous, and so that's why I thought... Oh, I understand that, but how many people did you kill in the process with this? He says, I've never said from this podium or any other podium, I've never said you shouldn't talk about your problems, because you should. You with us? That's what this is about. That's what sponsorship's about. That's what fellowship's about. Y'all follow? We were talking coming over about a lot of the guys in the United States are losing their job now, the financial stuff. God, I mean, how did we screw things up so bad? You know, the ripple effect is getting our neighbors on both sides of the I don't know. And we're talking about that. We've got lots of people in the program that are hurting financially and needing, for me to stand up from a podium and say we don't need to talk about that, of course we do. But in the meeting, the little guy picked up a meeting schedule at the probation office, and he's sneaking in the back door even as we speak. And he's sitting down and he's saying, let's see what these guys have got. But we're not going to get a chance to talk about the spiritual experience that's going to change our lives because we're too busy talking about your stupid weed eater one more time. Oh, but if he doesn't talk about that weed eater, he might drink over that weed eater. Y'all understand where I'm at with this? We need to talk about the weed eater. But the little guy came to hear about a solution to his problem called alcoholism. But we think it's perfectly okay for us to take a meeting time up talking about our day. And I'm just here, I just disagree. Thanks, Mom. I know, really. So, let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to kind of show you what I do with a newcomer. There's lots of people, like, you get somebody like Ron who's been sober for a period of time, and he come and ask me to sponsor him. I'm going to sponsor him different than I'm going to sponsor a little new guy that's just coming in. You know, got a little fried pie. You know the little newcomer look. And looks like me. I know, really. My first wife said I'm the only guy that could wear a tux and still look like I crawled out of a dumpster. We're not married anymore. When I get a little new guy, what we're talking about is we're talking about how to get them through the work quick. One of the biggest mistakes that I think we make in all of our fellowships is that we take too long to get these people connected spiritually. Our job in AA and CA and NA, and I agree with NA, don't have a bone to pick with any of these fellowships. Our job in those fellowships, though, is to get the newcomer connected spiritually. Over the years, what happened is we got vague on that. My job is to get you connected to God, whatever your understanding is. We're going to talk about that quick and fast. My job is not to fix your problems. And the big book is quite clear that when we allow a newcomer to start depending on us for their money, for their job information, y'all with us? Relationship problem. When we place ourselves in a position to be a counselor and a banker and a doctor to the newcomer, then why in the hell does he need God? And then when we give him the wrong information because we're not trained to do that, then he can just say, well, you guys screwed me up. We need to do what we're supposed to do, and that's show them the path to God. Everybody gets tweaky about that. Oh, this is not about God. This is not a religion. I didn't say it was a religion, but it is a spiritual program. And I got to tell you, we're going to hit it hard today because we're seeing so many people. I know it makes some of you squirm, but it's like, what do we got to sell, folks? I mean, people come to Alcoholics Anonymous. We say we have an answer. What is the answer? But you can sum it up and say that. It's the 12 steps that gets us connected spiritually. Because ultimately, what got Ebby sober? A spiritual experience. What got Bill Wilson sober? 9 days in Towns Hospital. Last week, December 11th, was his admission date back to Towns Hospital. Bill Wilson had been in that hospital 3 other times previously and had left AMA all 3 times. You with me? How many of you guys ever got a head of steam up like that? I'm going to get sober, and you show up to detox, and they start weaning you off the detox med, and you say, this is not a good idea. Maybe a better time, and we're out the door. And that's exactly, and Bill Wilson left 3 times. In 1934, December 11th, he admitted back to Towns Hospital for the 4th and last time, where he completed treatment. You with us? Y'all are going to hear me talk about this word commitment a lot. We got a lot of people straddling the damn fence. I want to get sober, but I don't want to get sober. I want to get sober. You know, I'm talking to a guy yesterday. Said, Chris, I just don't know if I want to get sober or not. Rock on. But what? You want me to talk you into getting sober? Go drink. Because if I chase you, I'm going to ruin my opportunity here. You with us? I'm going to be here when you get ready. When you decide you want to go do this. We're not selling something here. But what we have to offer the newcomer is the spiritual experience. What did Bill Wilson, 9 days in Town Hospital, working the 12 steps. He's making his amends letters from the hospital. Ebby's working with him in the hospital. 9 days in, 10 days, and he has his barn-burning spiritual experience. Everybody thinks he had this experience, and then, no. He was doing the work, and then he had his experience. You'll follow? Dr. Bob, same thing. Had a spiritual experience. Bill D., number 3, lawyer, spiritual experience. Chris Raymer, Downstream, 1987, spiritual experience. The sad part is that we allow people sitting in these rooms to not even have their own version of a spiritual experience. Which is what we're afraid to talk about it. I'm going to say this real quick. In the hospital where I work, what we're seeing is thousands of people come back into the hospital with long-term sobriety. It used to be 15 years ago when I started working out there, we didn't ever get somebody. 15 years sober, you'd stop the hospital. Everybody would be out there saying, buddy, what happened? You know, it'd be every little beehive around the guy. And now, probably a fourth of our community at that hospital has had 10 or more years of sobriety and lost it. Why? Because they stopped doing the things that got them there to begin with. And the disease got them again. We need to talk about that today, folks. What kills alcoholics is untreated alcoholism, folks. It's not the booze. There's a girl in the back that's been looking down the whole time I'm talking. I said that. She looked up, eyes like this big around. What? No. That's what we have to do when we qualify an alcoholic or an addict. What we got to do is we got to find out, is the booze your problem? Is the dope your problem? Because if that's your problem, buddy, I got a quick answer for you. Let's detox you. Then we're done. Oh, well, it's a little more complicated than that. Yeah, no shit. Okay. Then stop telling me that one day at a time I can stop drinking and I can get well. Because I'm going to say it again. I may say it 100 times in the few hours I have with you today. Going to meetings and not drinking does not treat alcoholism. It does not. Not if you're the real McCoy. So, real quick. When a newcomer comes in, what we're going to try to do is I'm going to qualify him a little bit, and that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to set some parameters with this guy going in the door to help them understand what I expect of them. If they need somebody to pamper them and mother them, and I need somebody I can call every minute of every day, I'm going to say, listen, I want you to meet my friend Ron, because that's not me. I ain't babysitting nobody. I'm going to be there at your beck and call in the first day's early sobriety. You with us? But after a period of time, we're going to get you on your feet. You're going to have to be, it's going to be you and God. I'm going to take myself out of the equation. And that's the problem with so many people, and they're afraid to sponsor people. I don't want to sponsor too many people, because I just don't have time. I said, I've never understood that. If you're sponsoring somebody, they're quite labor intensive early on. It's like raising a kid. Watching a lady on the plane yesterday with 2 kids, and I walked out and I was like, God, I wish I had some money to just give you, just juggling these 2 kids. She couldn't turn away for 5 seconds. How do you go pee when you've got 2 kids? How do you do anything? It's like, no, I don't have any. No, I don't want any. Because kids, it's just labor intensive. But once they get older, y'all with us? Examples of that in here. Little guys out running around, coming by, checking on you every once in a while. I sponsor probably 35 guys, 2 brand new ones now. That's all I can do. 1 or 2 at a time, getting you through the steps. After that, I'm patting you on the butt. Welcome to the fellowship. You're in the trenches with us. If you got a problem, swing back by and let's visit about it. You with us? Call, check in. But I'm not taking you on a rake. These guys that keep coming up to me, I need some face-to-face time. No, you need a freaking therapist. You need a therapist and some friends and a dog. That's what you need. Because you're wearing me out. All right. Anyway, the first and the biggest gift, I'm going to do this real quick and then we'll pick it up in the next session. The first and the biggest gift that we can give a newcomer is qualifying a drunk. We got to qualify him. That's the number one question that I get asked all over the world where I'm at. I can be in Europe or I don't care. Ingram, Texas, it's the same stuff. People want to slide up, and they're usually really embarrassed about it, especially if they've been around the program for a while. And we may have some of y'all in here, and just don't be embarrassed, because a lot of people do. You come up and you'll want to ask. I said, like, I'm not sure if I'm really an alcoholic. And I really feel sorry for you because it's frustrating to watch. It's sad to watch. Have you ever watched people come into AA and they just get comfortable? They're just like, they're home. They know that they're supposed to be there. And then you see those that come in and they just kind of circle the periphery and they never get comfortable. They don't chair any meetings and they don't, they just in and they're out. They're not convinced to their innermost self that they're one of us. Now what we got to do, what we're supposed to do, our job is to give that cat a good case of alcoholism or show him another fellowship. That's our job. In 1980, I went to my first AA meeting, and I walked in the back door trying to save a marriage and a business, and I was all banged up. I just finished a quart of beer in the truck, and I walked up the door, up the steps, and somebody asked us, were there 12 steps? Oh, Jesus. We see symbolism in everything. It was an attic over an office building, but I walked up to this, and there's an old geezer sitting in this easy chair with this one light hanging down, and it's talking about a program of attraction. I didn't know if we were in an AA meeting or a seance. And it's scary enough to walk in the door, and I walk in and this is like psycho, and this guy moves in his easy chair, and I see that this geezer. How long you been laying there, Dad? I mean, you freaking me out, He said, welcome, and he introduced himself, and he says, my name's Jack R., whatever it was. And he says, do you have a problem with alcohol? And I said, yes, I think I do. Because I'm drinking now, and sitting in this seance. And then my eyes cleared. People think I'm making this up. And my eyes cleared like this. And there was 3 other people in the room you couldn't even see. They were sitting in chairs. They were out. They were family members of a drunk. They were Al-Anon ladies. And so basically he said, well, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I sat down in this little chair. And then we talked about their husbands for an hour. Rock on. I said, this is going to be good. I'm going to be back. I'll just be back drunker next time. And I went to other meetings, guys. But you got to understand, the meeting that newcomer comes in might be the only shot we get at him. Y'all with us? It's the old AA stuff back in Texas. This runs him out, or the liquor will run him back in. You don't understand, guys. Sometimes we leave and don't ever come back. Why? Because we offed ourselves that night. We see it time and time and time again. There's a window of opportunity to do this, folks. We're going to talk about that in this next session. In fact, we probably ought to let some of you smoke because you look like you have that urge. We'll do that. Smoke. Guys, come back. Can we do 10 minutes? Like 10 minutes. Like go smoke like you're going to go slow out there. Okay. Everybody back. That's good. Everybody came back. That's good. Oh, that's so good. My name's Chris Raymer, grateful recovered alcoholic, drug addict. We'd encourage everybody, again, thanks for the tapers, because I sometimes forget to do that. We get fortunate enough to get to come to a bunch of these and get it. A lot of people can't, and so you support, you buy the CDs and stuff. It helps. It's just another way of contributing. So thanks you so much. Real quick, because I get asked a lot about this stuff. This seventh tradition stuff, this is the way I like to do it. I mean, the way they do it. And I've been some where they charge a little stipend to kind of cover their butts. But the seventh tradition stuff is like for self-supporting. It used to be back when I first started talking years and years, $200 would get you anywhere in the country. And I guarantee you, flying is expensive now. And a little Motel 6 was expensive. And the speakers on any of this AA, CA, or any of our talks, that we don't get any money for this. I think we should, but we just no. Absolutely not. This is okay. Seventh tradition stuff. Just thanks for dropping $1 in the deal and covering the basket. All the guys that organize this, they're always reaching in their pocket, buying another hamburger for the speaker and this, that, and the other stuff. All adds up. So thanks for doing it. That's all I'm getting at. I was traveling with a guy. I was in Houston doing a talk, and this guy that I've worked with, he's like 20 years sober too. And he says, I said something about having an apartment in San Antonio, and he says, so you've got 2 houses? And I said, yeah. If you buy real small houses, you could buy a dozen of them as small as we buy them. And he says, oh well, you must get a bunch because you speak so much. You get all that extra money from that. And I guess that's. And I'm looking at this guy, and he's in AA, and he thinks that we're getting money for this. It freaks me out that people don't understand that. No. Okay. We want to talk about qualifying a drunk now and an addict, and we're going to kind of slide through this stuff. Visit a little bit about this powerlessness piece. The disease itself. We'll go to lunch, and then we'll come back, and then I want to talk to you in the next hour about the next 11 steps, the next 10 steps, because I want to take the fourth and the last hour after lunch. We've got 2 little sessions after lunch, because we don't want to kill anybody here weighing them down. I hate those things, workshops where you're just like, God, are they ever going to finish? And it's like, because I think that's one of the big problems that we've made in our fellowships is that we've made this too damn complicated. This is not that complicated. I know a lot of you guys, you go to workshops and, we spent all weekend talking about 6 and 7. We're not. Okay, so. Because I think if it had been that important, Bill Wilson would have given it a little more attention than 2 paragraphs. I don't care what he wrote subsequently after that. I know some of y'all make a big deal of that. My deal again is my point of coming from is triage. I got a little newcomer coming in here. I want to get him through the steps. I want to get him connected spiritually as quick as possible. Are we all on that same page? Okay. I can't take every person that I sponsor through the steps at the same pace. Because some of you little guys are fried pies when you get here. Some of you, if I was dealing with just a little alcoholic, I could let you sleep for 3 days and get you detox, and I could get you in there. We could be okay. Little cocaine addicts are pretty easy to do because they have practically no detox. I don't know if y'all know that or not. That's one of the reasons that cocaine addicts die so often is because they bounce too quick. You know, in the United States, you bring a cocaine addict in and says, we want to admit this guy. By the time the paperwork to admit him is dry, he's had a nap and eaten a little snack. And he says, I don't know what the big deal was. I mean, I think we're overreacting here a little bit. Y'all follow? But then on the other end of the spectrum, again, we've got the people that are drinking or possibly eating those stupid prescription medications, and they just suffer for months. And they have a tough time zipping their pants for about the first 2 months they're in here. And so, or unzipping, whichever. And so you can't go as fast with those guys. You got to be gentle with them. Everybody hears these CDs and, well, if anybody had taken me through the steps that fast, I would have died. I understand that. But how many people do we kill with the belief that everybody has to go slow? It's my one point of contention with Narcotics Anonymous. They are adamant about take your time to work the steps. And I am equally adamant of if you have time to work the steps, you ain't one of us. The big therapist stuff. The big therapist stuff and treatment and stuff, again, it goes back to we didn't get thick overnight, we're not going to get well overnight. Y'all understand this. Some people misunderstand when I tell my story from the podium. I had a spiritual experience. I'm between my 4th and 5th step when I had a spiritual experience, when the obsession lifted from me. You with me? I'm 2 weeks into this, diligently working. The guy that's got my sponsor, he's showing me how to do 10 and 11. I'm praying and meditating, and he's having me work. I'm working with others while I'm there at the club. You'll follow? I'm not doing big book seminars and sponsoring people. I'm getting coffee for you. That's leaps and bounds from where I was as a selfish individual. You with me? If I can do anything for you, in the olden days, it was absolutely by accident if that happened. But I want you to understand that the stuff on the outside took a long time. I was years trying to heal financially. Physically, there was lots of damage, physical damage that took a long, long time to heal. It wasn't an overnight matter. But the spiritual experience that allowed the obsession to be removed happened very quickly, and can happen very quickly if you'll do the work at a pretty good clip. I was talking to one of the nice ladies earlier. Joe and Charlie were famous about trying to get people off dead center with this. Because somewhere along the line, guys, we got this idea that it was okay to go slow. Well, go whatever pace you want. Why are we doing that? Why are we telling people that? I mean, you might not be able to sense it. Here's what happens. Here's a guy named Bill White. I don't know if I could. He wrote a book called Slaying the Dragon, but he wrote some excellent articles about this little window of opportunity. And I talk about it pretty often. There's a time when we can come into this thing and get our feet on the ground and start feeling better physically and get detoxed. And there's a window where it seems like we don't have to do jack. It seems like everything we touch is spiritual in nature and we're comfortable in our skin. You with us? We make fun of them when they come into meetings. The old geezers want to sit up and laugh at us. Oh, he's on a pink cloud now. Well, I understand it, but I personally find the term derogatory. I mean, it's not a pink cloud; it's God's grace. And William, this guy that wrote these articles understood that this is an anomaly. Now, and I don't know how long it's going to last. And he makes a clear point in here. That window of opportunity to get your feet on the ground and feel comfortable in your skin may last 6 months, and it may last 6 weeks, and it may last 6 hours. It's different for different people. I know that most of us have experienced it. I've done workshops where we raised our hands, and most everybody in the room had a period of where they just walked in. It's like dodging a bullet. Oh my God, I'm saved. But it's not going to stay that way. What the old-timer said after he made a joke about the pink cloud is true. When you come out of that that window of opportunity, you're going to be in more pain than you've ever been in your life. And if you're not on solid ground when that pain hits, you're going to drink and you're going to grow. So that's just the nature of the beast. I sense a real feeling of urgency around doing this work with my guys. Because if I drag my feet as a sponsor, getting you through the work, and you come out the other side into reality, you relapse. And then you come back in the meetings and somebody just wants to take your inventory and say, well, you just didn't want it. It's my one big bone with people that say they're sponsors and yet don't sponsor. The problem, we're going to talk about it in that last hour. The problem with this business is, and I take it pretty seriously, my job is to get you connected spiritually. And I'm going to do whatever I can do to get that done. But I'm not going to belabor this and take forever to do it. Because if you're not willing to do what I want you to do to make this happen pretty quick, then I need to move on to somebody that will. You follow? I'm not here for your convenience. I don't want a damn thing that you have. You want something that I got called sobriety? Then let me show you what I did. And I did it quickly. So, there you go. First thing we got to do is give these guys a case of alcoholism. Everybody comes in and says, I'm an alcoholic. I can go to that hospital. There's 80 patients in that hospital this morning. And I can go to every single one of them, especially the ones coming just out of detox. Hey, are you an alcoholic and an addict? And every single one of them will say yes. With us, they hurt, the pains. Yes, the tears. I'll do anything to get well. And they mean it. And if we can get them pretty fast, they can get their feet on the ground. But if we mess with them too long, let them sit too long, what happens is this thing called ego, Harry Tiebout wrote about it in the 30s, the resurgence of the ego starts to come back. How many of y'all understand, without going into a lot of detail, what happens is a patient comes in and they say, I'm going to do anything you ask me to do. And they show up on time and they do, you with me? They got a damn pole, with a drip, and they're hauling from SCU and they're up to boy, this guy's willing to go to anything. Walk out of SCU with your butt showing, go sit in Big Book. You're ready to get sober, aren't you, buddy? 3 days later, he's found she was walking out of SCU. I saw her in those little paper slippers, and I knew that God brought her to me. Holy shit. Yeah, okay, that might explain why you weren't in Big Book this morning, right? Yeah, we were up kind of late last night. I think, talking God and stuff. What's happening is their ego's rebuilding itself. Now, all of a sudden, sobriety and God was the most important thing in my entire life, and now all of a sudden, it's taken second place to the girl. You get a call from work, and now all of a sudden work, and so ego's rebuilding, and now all of a sudden everything else is more important than what we started out to be. You follow? If I don't give these cats a case of alcoholism, if I don't help them see that they're dying of a fatal progressive illness, they're going to crap out. Because they're not going to remember the consequences of a week or a month ago. The page that we read the first hour talked about the mental obsession. It says you won't remember the consequences of even a week or a month ago. Can y'all remember back to that? If I could remember the sound of that jail cell clanging in Denton, Texas, when I got my first DWI, and I turned around and there was a guy about the size of 6 of you, I would never drink again. I did. I swore off. I'm hyperventilating, breathing through the bars. I'm hyperventilating because I've heard that click of that jail, and I know that this is going to be one long damn night with me in the drunk tank. Nothing happened, guys. I'm just locked up for the first time, and I'm humiliated, and I'm not ever going to do it. And I know why, because I'm drinking. I'm not going to drink. And I didn't until the next night. And my head said, Chris, buddy, you need something to knock the edge off. But don't do like you did last night. Just one. And then the craving kicks in, and I'm off to the stupid races again. The doctor's opinion up in the front of the book, Dr. Silkworth wrote the letters. He began to see an anomaly. He began to see that people that came to his hospital to detox, didn't matter if it was a drop-dead gorgeous woman or a butt-ugly guy, it didn't matter. They were certain similarities. And this was the basis of which the American Medical Association, many years later, used as a basis for saying that alcoholism and drug addiction was a disease, not some kind of a behavioral problem. In order to be an alcoholic or a drug addict, you guys have got to have 2 main symptoms. You have to have the phenomena called craving. The doctor's opinion, up to page 23. Y'all want to write it down, y'all can look at it later, but this is how it's busted out in the book. Up to page 23, it talks about alcohol in your body. What happens when I drink? This phenomenon of craving kicks in. The problem is not that Chris Raymer drank a beer. millions of people in over Canada are drinking a beer today. The problem is that I drank 18 beers. My first wife used to say, "You just seem so thirsty sometimes." I'll tell you, that Texas machismo crap has killed millions of Texans, I guarantee you. Oh my gosh. But what happens is, with people that are genetically wired like us, it's a point that I need to mention. Alcoholism and drug addiction, folks, because of the latest studies that have come through, we know without a shadow of a doubt it's genetic. If you want to continue to blame getting slapped around as a kid for your alcoholism, go ahead, but there's going to be more and more people who are going to turn around and call you a fruitcake because of it. I'm not saying that outside stuff didn't affect you. It did not cause alcoholism. It's genetic, folks. It's no different than... I have high cholesterol. I eat like a little bird, and I watch what I put in my body. But cholesterol killed my father, and it will kill me, and it will kill my twin brother, because we both have very unusually high cholesterol. Y'all with us? It's just genetic. It's not anything I'm doing. It's just genetics. There's nothing I can do. It's the same thing with alcoholism. My little sister didn't catch the bullet. My twin brother did. Raised in the same family. She's never had a problem with alcohol. We saw her at Christmas again. It's just same story, second verse. Just they drink a little glass of wine and set it down. And, Mom, Jesus, drink up. It's free. She looks around like this. She's a little geek right now. She looks around and she says, "No, it tastes a little off." Is there alcohol in it? I don't care if there's a dead cricket floating in it. I'm going to drink it. We're just wired different, guys. I'm just telling you. But once I start to drink, the question that we ask the newcomers, the doctor's opinion talks about, once you start to drink, can you guarantee me how much you're going to drink? People get confused because they think that every time I drink until I black out. End-stage alcoholism looks like that. You'll follow? But that's what I'm saying. There's many of us that it progresses very slowly. And we've got people in our hospital right now, 50, 60 years old, that just recently began to develop symptoms of alcoholism, obvious symptoms of no control once they started. They were born with it, but it progressed very slowly in them, genetically. We can look at different races. The Asian community has very little propensity for alcoholism and drug addiction in their race. It's because it's genetic. They certainly live under a pressure cooker existence, but it doesn't seem to affect them like it does us. If any of you guys have North American Indian blood in you, Eskimo blood, any of that in your welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. The chances are you caught that genetic marker. It's an amazing thing. There's a great book out there called Born That Way that talks about the age-old question of nature versus nurture. It's an excellent read. It doesn't just talk about alcoholism, but it talks about this idea that mom and dad passed on a lot of stuff, and it wasn't so much how we were held as yeah, okay. So I started to, but I didn't. Okay. So the first thing, most everybody can understand that. Yeah, God, I started a drink, or I started a drug, and it got away from me. That's the question. We ought to ask every drug addict, instead of asking, how many DWIs have you had? How many times have you been to prison? Or how many times? This is all crappy, stupid questions. This is how we kill women in AA, because that's what we want to do, is we want to ask them about the drama. But again, a lot of these women have been insulated. They're not going to experience a lot of that stuff. We need to ask one question around the drugs with the women and the men. How many times did you ever go back to a money machine in one night? Yeah, if it's more than once, welcome to Narcotics Anonymous. But isn't that the truth? We don't do that. That's not normal. That's how my first wife knew I had a problem with drugs to begin with. She said, "You were back at this money machine 4 times last night." Well, it was my money. No, it's our money. And now it's no money. What was that about? Why didn't you just take the whole checking account at 5 o'clock? You with me? Because I wanted $60 at 5 o'clock, because I was just going to get a little something to knock the edge off, and then I was going to go on down the road. And I knocked the edge off, and the phenomenon of craving kicked in, and I went back and got another 60. And another 60, and another 60, and another 60. That's all. Okay, so everybody can pretty well see this. Our treatment center industry is built around that phenomenon called craving business. We get past it by a thing called detox. Simple to do. We're going to take the same chemical you're addicted to. We're going to use that to wean you off of that substance, get it out of your system. At that particular point, there is no more craving involved. I don't care what Terence Gorski says. There is no more There's no more craving involved. We have 24 anti-craving medications out there on the surface coming at us, to help us with the cravings. They work great, folks. Take them if you can. They work great. But once the stuff's out of your system, the craving problem is not in there. This is where nobody thought this through. In the States, the just say no crap. Just say no. I understand that. I can just say no. And I can get detoxed. I can't stay detoxed. Because my head, the pages that we read on page 24, it says the main problem on page 23, it says the main problem centers in my mind rather than my body. We can get you detoxed. It's one of the things that we have to look at, guys, because a lot of you guys, what's happening is you're sabotaging your own sobriety. I'm not going to drink anymore, but I'm going to keep taking Lunesta. Well, but Lunesta is alcohol in a pill. It may not trigger you now, but it will trigger you eventually back to your drug of choice. And you could agree or not agree. I've got a hospital full of people that are there for Ambien and Lunesta. Prescription medication is what's killing us in our fellowships. This is not drugs. This is medication. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. All that dentist work that you went back, then never mind. I know exactly what we're doing here. That's why I get cranky with the ideas that we tell the newcomer, just don't drink and go to meetings. Because that won't treat this problem. I can get it past the physical, and I'm going to be comfortable in my skin because I get past it. But my mind was going to start needling on me. And that's what kills alcoholics when you compare the deal. My head says a week out, 2 weeks out, it starts to rationalize and justify why it's okay for me to put a little something back in my body. I'm one of those guys that hates marijuana. I know some of you guys love it. It was a drug that I just didn't like. Paranoid and horny don't go well together. I could drink a case of beer, and go to work, and I'm fine. A cop rolled down. What's up, doc? I'm not fine. But I can't drive. I can't do anything. I smoke a joint. I get naked and get in the closet is what I do. Me. I don't know. Who's that knocking on the door? You just ordered a pizza? But every time I stopped drinking, I'd get out a little ways. I know I can't drink because I know where it leads me. But I've never had a problem with pot because I don't like it that much. And my says, but you could probably smoke a joint. And so I smoke a joint. Don't like the way it makes me feel. 2 hours later, I'm peering out the window, run across the street, get a quart of beer, and I get home. I get downtown. Y'all understand? I go back to my drug of choice. That's cross addiction. We got the little college-age kids at our hospital, and they all think they can still smoke pot and drink beer. I'm going to leave those oxys alone. Good for you, brother. Rock on. I'm glad to rock on. Good for you. But I'm still going to drink. But you're not going to stay sober then. Because two things will happen. You'll either become a lush around the alcohol, or it'll lead you straight back to the oxys. Guys, if there was an exception to the rule, don't you think we would tell people that? I mean, can you imagine the hospital that we would have? Guys, come on. We'll get you off the oxy. We'll get you off the heroin. We'll get you off the cocaine. We're going to teach you how to smoke pot like a pro. We're not going to do more bead work at AT. What we're going to do is we're going to show you how to make bongs, and we're going to. We could keep that place full. You know what I'm? Guys, you can't put another subject. Most of us in this room have done it. I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to pick this like trading seats on the Titanic. I'm done with that damn cocaine. Oh yeah, you seem a little wired. Well, I'm doing a little amphetamine now. It's like. But this is, buddies. But this is where your minds go. This is what your head tells you can do. And I'm telling you, we're watching thousands and thousands of people relapse around the alcohol, around a stupid prescription pad. If you put it in your body and it changes the way you feel, you're in trouble. And I don't give a rat's butt if the doctor's prescribing it or not. We're going to move into the second piece of this. Stay with that thought. Don't throw anything. God, people are territorial around their meds. I need those medications. You might. Most of us don't. I'm not telling you to stop taking anything. I'm saying most of us don't. 227 million prescriptions of antidepressants in the country, in the world today. The number one prescribed medication on the face of the earth is antidepressants. Now, what's wrong with this picture? We were talking about it coming over. There's two kinds of depression, folks. There's a little d depression, The guy that wrote Comfortably Numb talks best about it. And then there's Big D depression. I understand it's a clinical depression that needs medication. Rock on. Such a small percentage of us in the world have it, it's not even worth writing about. And the pharmaceutical companies couldn't survive selling them to the people that actually need it. But they're going to give it to the cat. Are you feeling a little down? Uh-huh. Having a little trouble sleeping, aren't you? How did you know, doctor? Here. Because I've seen 20 bozos just like you already this morning. Here, let me hear you. Here's your 3 prescriptions. Thank you, doctor. And 2 months later, you're picking up another Desire chip. The mental obsession is what kills alcoholics and addicts. And the book says that nothing can defend us from that. From 23 to 43, probably the most powerful pages in the big book as far as I'm concerned. From 23 to 43, it talks about the mental obsession. That's the stories in there where it talks about Jim the car salesman and Fred the businessman and the jaywalker. You with us? Hi, jaywalkers. I know. It just freaks me out. Because in our families, see, they all think that we should be able to think through this. What they're going to end up doing is they're going to wait till I get calls every day. Do you think she's hit bottom yet? Well, what do you mean? Well, she just had a DWI and Child Protective Services has been called and they're going to get her kid if she drinks again. I understand that, but what are you thinking that's going to be? There's no such thing as a bottom for us. Because you won't remember the consequences of a week or a month ago. Because normal people, 85% of the population out there can remember that. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I've screwed up like this. We party too much. I'm hanging around the wrong people. I'm in jeopardy of losing my kids. I am so done. And they never do another drop. You with me? If we'd have been drinking together, you would have said they were an alcoholic. If we'd have been shooting dope, you'd have said they're a little dope fiend from hell. But they had the power to stop and stay stopped. Page 20 and 21 talks about it. Moderate drinkers, hard drinkers. But what about the real alcoholic? You with us? What about the real dope fiend? These are the cats that absolutely have to have the spiritual connection. If they don't get it, they're not going to stay sober. Geez, I'm in AA for 7 years and nobody will tell me that. At what point does I change my mind qualify for insanity? Oh, I just changed my mind. Chris, you're on probation. You get caught again, you serve out a 10-year sentence. What do you mean you just changed your mind? That's the insanity. Why is it that people in Alcoholics Anonymous are afraid to call the disease what it is? It's a form of mental insanity. The treatment centers can help some... Guys, you just think about it. Up until 1935, when we got the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and we got the 12 steps, millions of us died in insane asylums. Most of us at our own hands because we couldn't stand the pain. You combine the mental obsession that tells me I don't have a problem with the phenomenon of craving, and you've got a setup for death. Underlying it all is a topic that nobody ever wants to talk about. Not in treatment, not in therapy, not in the probation officer, not in church, not anywhere. Damn sure not in our AA meeting. It's called the spiritual malady. Bill Wilson wrote extensively about it. The spiritual malady is this internal condition. These little issue man pens, I brought a handful. I didn't figure we'd have 15 people here on this cold, frozen tundra. Look at this. If you want one, just find one that's got one and beat them up and get it, because I didn't bring enough. But I'll send you some if you want. But little issue man pens, and if you'll notice, the little issue guy is sitting there like this, got these little X's on the outside, and he's got this little dark spot on the inside. And this is the inside stuff. This is what we're supposed to be looking at, because this is what we're drinking over. Bill Wilson describes it as a spiritual malady. He does it on several pages. One of the main ones is on page 52, where it talks about the bedevilments. How many of y'all understand these symptoms when you're not drinking and drugging? All you little alcoholics and addicts in here play. When I'm not drinking and drugging, do you find yourself irritable, restless, and discontent? Check. Depressed. Number one symptom of alcoholism and drug addiction is depression, folks. Boredom, anxiety, fear, feeling of uselessness, no sense of direction, trouble in personal relationships, trouble making a living. Great line on page 52, it says, "We were unhappy." Shit, no shit. Oh my gosh. Listen, guys, but see, I'm spending 10 years in therapy listening to the therapist say, "Well, Chris, what's the problem?" I say, I can stay sober for a period of time, guys, and then my head says, it's time to take a drink. And I go back, you with me? But just one. and I drink it, and I get loaded again. I go back to the therapist's office, and the therapist looks at me with disgust. Well, tell me about it. Well, I was feeling a little cranky, feeling a little irritable, feeling a little, and went to the 7-Eleven, and you went to the 7-Eleven? I thought we talked about going to the 7-Elevens. I know, but it's on the way to work. I know, but there's got to be other ways to get to work. I know, but it's 20 miles out of my way. Well, how bad do you want to stay sober? Listen to this crap, guys. People are being killed with this stuff all day long in the States. Trying to connect the drinking with something external. Listen, guys, I put the plug in the jug and I start to walk away from the alcohol and drugs, and the time starts to click. And my internal clock starts to grind, and all of a sudden, gradually, almost imperceptibly, the irritableness, the restlessness, the discontent, the low self-esteem starts to creep back. You'll follow? And I wake up one morning and I'm shaving and I'm just depressed and I don't like my wife anymore and I don't like my job and I don't like the town I'm living in. And the feeling of uselessness overcomes me. You'll follow? And then I get this little head, you're probably clinically depressed. Yeah, that's the ticket. That's what and then I'm off to the stupid races. You probably need a drink, one drink. And then we're off to the races. You follow? And I don't have the power to stop myself from doing it. And that's why alcoholics and addicts, we're trying to treat this internal condition. God, been therapists for years trying to connect the dots with me. Chris, tell me about your external world. We talked about Vietnam. We talked about... I'm going to tell you something, guys. We talked about my mom so much I'm afraid to be in the same room with her. That and me being gay. I'm going to tell you something. We talked about... I'm so not gay. But we talked about it nonstop. Well, Chris, there must be something that you're drinking over. You see, hard drinkers, moderate drinkers, they got something to drink over. The young guy at school, the pressure at school. Okay, well, let's set out a semester and see if that'll stabilize. So he sits out and he drinks himself into a coma. So maybe it wasn't the school. Maybe it was untreated alcoholism. I mean, why don't we start calling this what it is? This is not about the drinking and drugging. It's about what happens when I lay the stuff down. I don't get better. I get worse. How many of you guys have known that? My first wife came back with a bottle of vodka and says, here, drink this. I said, honey, I've got 2 months of sobriety. She said, you ain't sober, Jack. I liked you better drunk. If you insist. You're just trying to save the marriage, honey. An audible sigh of relief, But I'm going to control it. I'm going to hold it together. But 2 days later, the craving kicks in, and I'm off to the stupid races one more time. You follow? I need to be returned to sanity, that second step stuff. And that's what this whole piece is about. This guy sat down in 1987 after I walked back in. They sat down and they opened the pages and they showed me. He said, Chris, for the first time, we need to qualify you, dog. We need to find out if you're an alcoholic or not. Is alcoholism your problem or is life your problem? These cats come to treatment and we spend 90% of the time in treatment fixing their external world. And I'm so glad that we do. I'm glad that we get a chance to do that. But if all we do is fix that external stuff, they're still going to drink. Y'all make sense? They're still going to get loaded. We got to do both. And that's why I love therapy. I love medicine. There's so many physical things that a doctor can help us with. But if all we do is throw another pill at this thing, I love it when the guys come to treatment. The first thing the doctors look at, coming back off about a 6-month meth run. Buddy, you seem a little tense. Are you depressed? You've just ruined your life. You have no money left. The girl's gone. Everything's gone. Well, here, I think we can help you out. And that's and the prescription. There you go. But what's the problem? The problem is untreated alcoholism. In 1987, guys, that obsession to use lifted. And oh, by the way, a lot of that stuff that I was taking those medications for went away too. And gradually the depression lifted and the anxiety went away almost immediately. And that sense of impending doom, waiting for the next shoe to drop, ceased to be there. And about 6 months, 8 months out, under a doctor's care, I weaned myself off those medications and never had to get on any more. Which is pretty cool. Make sense? Anybody from this podium, anybody in this room, hear me say, stop taking your medication? As I didn't say it. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying if you want to experiment with it, talk to your doctor and see what happens with it. You might find you don't need the expensive crap to get through the day. God's power is real. Yeah. So he sits down and he asks me the same questions about the drugs. When you put it in your body, can you control how much you use? No. Given sufficient reason, can you stop and stay stopped? No. You're a textbook drug addict. People are saying, what fellowship should I go to? Go to the fellowship you're comfortable in. But if you're not a drug addict, don't go to CA and try to help a cocaine addict get off cocaine, because you're talking about something you don't know nothing about. We've got too many people talking about stuff they don't know nothing about. Same goes the other way. If you've never had a problem with alcohol, stop trying to help somebody get off the alcohol. If you've never had a problem with it, you don't understand it. And inadvertently, what's going to happen is you're going to kill somebody. You're going to hurt somebody by giving them the wrong piece of information. You follow? Why I love the guys that start these other fellowships, and Pill Addicts Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous, and God, these fellowships where people can get together and they can identify and see what's happening. You're a pill addict and you're sitting in my meeting and you're coming unglued and you're sitting in a room full of alcoholics. We don't know what's going on. Hell, you've been sober 6 months. Why you look like you're coming unglued? He is. He's going through second, third stage detox. He's coming undone. But we don't know that because we're not pill addicts. And we've allowed him to stay in the same room with us. We should have sat down and qualified him and made sure he got in the right room. We could still be friends. Y'all understand it? This idea that if you're an Alcoholics Anonymous, you can help everybody. Of course, it's ridiculous. I had a lady the other day wanting to talk to me about kids. I said, are you nuts? Don't know nothing about no birthing babies. Don't want to either. Don't want to. They asked me, I'm going to show you something real quick here and let you guys go to lunch. In the AA book, before AA messed around and lost our copyright or gave it away, in the front of our book, some of you guys, I saw a cat in here that had a third edition, that had a little circle triangle. On the title page of the book, there's a circle and triangle. And it's not there now. In the fourth edition, don't bother to look because it's not there. But I've got a rubber stamp and I can stamp it right back where it used to be. It's just one of those things we do. One of the problems of it is that AA was going to save themselves a bunch of money trying to battle the litigations, the copyright infringements, using that circle triangle. The drunk junk guys were the stickers and stuff, and so they were going to anyway. They took it out, but the old timers used to use that circle triangle to make sure we were in all three parts of the program. And I can show you when I stamp your little book what it talks about. But recovery is always on the bottom, and then unity, and then service is on the side. It's a three-part. Narcotics Anonymous has a circle and diamond that talks about the same basic stuff. You with me? It's three different parts of the program to treat three different parts of the disease: body, mind, spirit. And I can show you up here. But with a newcomer or with an old-timer, this is what we use to help everybody stay on the same page. You with me? And an accountability group, instead of sitting down and listening to you ad nauseum and tell me about your pathetically boring life one more time, all I'm interested in is knowing is, are you in all three parts of this program? Y'all follow me? That offended some of you. I know. I'm sorry. Your life is fascinating, and you're a beautiful child of God, and we're glad you're here. God. Do they have Barney in Canada? The little, yeah, okay. Recovery Unity Service. Okay, so what they did with me that night is they said, Chris, I said, I don't know why I can't stay sober. I've been around AA a long time, blah, blah, blah. I can't stay sober. And he said, Chris, it's easy to find out. I'm going to show you right now, and then you guys can turn around and show the guys that you sponsor how to do this too, because it's just real simple. If you're in all three parts of the program, you will not relapse. I don't give a rat's butt what happens on the little X's on Issue Man on the outside. Everybody wants to focus on that. People in treatment come in there believing that if they can fix all the X's that they can stay sober. That's a damn lie. And we kill people by telling them that. Y'all understand that? I can stay sober if my wife stays. But you know, it may be God's will that wife goes away. Way far away. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of us, you know what, we're afraid of the change. We could talk 2 hours just about that. We're afraid to make the changes and the hard decisions in sobriety. The whole purpose of working the steps is get spiritually connected, so God tells us what to do. God starts to tell us what to do, and you start questioning it. Well, I don't know. I've had that job for 16 years. I don't know. I don't think I should leave it. Well, why don't we talk about it? Have you been happy at that job? No, I hate that son of a bitch. But you want to argue your right to stay there? Do you think God wants you at a job that you can't stand? That's your crap, not God's. Y'all follow me? Buddy, I'm going to tell you what. My first sponsor said it. He said, when God closes a door, He's going to open a window. But it's hell in the hallway. Y'all follow? And some of you guys, that's where you are. You've gotten sober and you're hiding in the hallway, and it's time to enter a room and you're afraid to do it. Man, let me help you, because you need to get on with this living thing. Some of you guys have put your life on hold waiting for somebody else to change. Guess what? If they were going to change, they would have already done it. Okay. Recovery, unity, service. Recovery is the basics. He asked me that night, he said, Chris, what's recovery? I don't know, meeting. I don't know. He said, obviously. Recovery is the 12 steps. Do y'all agree? 12 steps. That's the only thing we have to sell. 12 steps. So let me ask you a question. Did you do the 12 steps? If the question at the time, being in AA for 7 years, I said, well, I'm working the step to the best of my ability. Which translates to no. He said, Chris, next time we ask you, these are all yes or no questions. So there's no trick questions here. Yes or no. Did you work all the steps? No. And he took a little X and did a little X on my deal like that, which I didn't appreciate. I'm very task-oriented. I got a check, I'm okay. I got an X, I'm not okay. He said, what's this next piece, this unity? He says, what's this unity thing? I said, well, it's the fellowship, I guess. It's the meeting. He said, excellent. Are you going to meeting? Meeting makers make it. And he put a check. I'll give you that one. He says, what's this service on the other side of the triangle here? What's AA's service? We only have one primary purpose, and that's to carry the message of hope to the newcomer. You follow? We take our awakened spirit and we help another person stay sober. That's a service that we carry. Oh, but you haven't worked the 12 steps, so you have no message to carry. And he put another X on it. Oh, I was not having a fun time at this. Junction, y'all understand? I mean, I'm pissed. You remember me, the most important person here, and you're shaming me? I love that term, you're shaming me. Oh my God. He said, Chris, we're just trying to show you in a 3-part program designed to treat a 3-part disease, you're in exactly 1 part. And you wonder, take a 3-legged stool, start cutting legs off and see how long. You can cut 1 leg off and balance on 2 legs maybe, but you cut 2 legs off, it's not going to be long. You're going to be falling on your skinny little butt. Yeah? You need to get in all 3 parts of the program. And we watch, guys, I can have any patient that walks back into that hospital where I work, and I can ask them these questions right here, the relapsers, and we can go directly to why you relapsed. Guy comes in, buddy, man, welcome back. We saw you about 8 months ago. You sure got banged up. Are you okay? Uh-huh. What happened? My wife left. You're a liar. I didn't ask what happened in your life. I said, what happened that caused you to drink? I told you, my wife left. Open your book. Remember that rubber stamp I put in there last time that you got and never bothered to look at again, obviously? Let's go back through the 3 parts and find out where you're at. Y'all with us? Every single time I can find a spot on that 3-legged stool that they've cut parts off. You with us? They're either heavy in service and they haven't worked their own program, or they're not working any of the steps. You with me? And all they're doing is trying to live in meeting land. Either way, it won't work. How many circuit speakers? I travel around. Guys, I've been speaking from the podium since almost I got sober. 2 or 3 years in, I started speaking. And really active on this stuff the last 10 years. How many circuit speakers do you think I've watched relapse? People that we share podiums with. I could start naming you names right now that you know and love that have relapsed. Why? Why could they stand from the podium and do what we're doing here and fall on their butts? Why? Because they didn't do the same thing the little brand new knucklehead has to do. Y'all understand? There are no gurus in AA. We're all people suffering from a spiritual illness that needs to be treated. And if I stop doing those things, if I start thinking I'm too cool and I don't need to sponsor anybody, and that I don't need to work the steps myself, then what's going to happen? The obsession to use is going to return. You would follow? And my head's going to say, you can take a drink. I don't have a choice whether I'm going to drink, folks. I have a choice whether I'm going to stay in all 3 parts of the program. Y'all cool with that? just about the first step and this thing about choice. Any of y'all got questions on that real quick? We'll bust up for lunch here in just a sec. Anybody got questions around this first step stuff? In everything I talk about, guys, about working the steps, I'm not a stickler for how you work the steps. I don't think Bill Wilson gave a rat's butt if you did a 3-column inventory or 4-column inventory and extended 8-column inventory. I don't think it really cares. Whatever floats your boat, as far as I'm concerned, it works for me. Y'all with me? But I think that around this first step, you've got to understand. There's 100 pages that explains all 12 steps in the big book. 60 of those pages are about the first step. And yet we have people coming into treatment. Well, buddy, by the time you got here, you had your first step. You've already done that. Let's move on. They haven't done jack, except add on a whole bunch of drama to their life. But they don't understand what it means to be alcoholic. Bill Wilson talks about it in Vision for You. He talks about Dr. Bob. He said Dr. Bob had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, but he didn't really understand what it meant to be an alcoholic. He knew he had a problem with alcohol, but that's light years away from knowing that he's got a fatal illness. Y'all with us? Physical allergy, mental obsession. That's where we have to go with this. Y'all cool? Anybody got a question? We're just frozen. This is the problem. We're just trying to bring people. Let's do that. You want to pass the basket for the 7? You want to do that? You're going to do it at the beginning? Yeah.
We did this in Iceland one time, not realizing that all the page numbers were different. All that great planning on my part was right up the window. For those who are unable to drink moderately, drug moderately, the question is how to stop altogether. We're assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. Stop right there. Now, one of my jobs as a sponsor, one of the things we're going to talk about this afternoon in one of these little sessions is some sponsorship stuff and working with others. One of my main jobs, like the first job, is...
The coolest things about the breaks, besides y'all get a chance to go smoke and pee, is that we get a chance to visit and talk a little bit. And it's like, you know, we're limited time here. We want to keep this short and sweet so y'all can have some day to do what you want to go do too. And we want to cover some stuff. Some of the questions, some of the things you're commenting on rings true, and I want to touch that real quick, and then we're going to fly through this hour. This is going to be a quick hour because we're going to talk specifically about the steps and some thoughts. Again, in case anybody came in late, a lot of you guys, I know somebody came in just for the food, and I don't have a problem in the world with that, but I'm here to share some experience with the steps and sponsorship and the program of recovery from my perspective, my point of view. Years working in the treatment center industry and years trying to get sober and not being able to get sober. So I get lots of emails from lots of people around the world, and a lot of you guys, I mean, you truly do share my story, same kind of story. We didn't all get to this fellowship and get well real quick, and some of us have really struggled. You know, if somebody's struggling because they just simply refuse to do the work, then okay, let's just get with it. But if somebody's struggling because they haven't been told all the information they need to get well, then shame on us as a fellowship. I know that sounds harsh, but there's this idea around our fellowships that if you're going to get well, you're going to get well no matter what you hear. That's just crap. I mean, that's just absolute rubbish. If you're the real McCoy and you want to get well, you better have the tools laid out in front of you and to know what to do. Why should some of us spend years suffering before we finally get to hear the solution? Everybody wants to let everybody off the hook, and I get a little tired of that. I think that there's a gazillion musts in the book, and there's some rigidity to it, and the closer you want to get to God, you're just going to have to do some things. I mentioned earlier about the little issue man pins. A lot of you guys want to talk about that and visit. A lot of you people in this room are on the same page with me. Y'all understand. I'm going to repeat myself one more time. I am not saying your issues are not important. You guys, some of you guys have been hurt and you've been traumatized deeply, and you believe that's who you are. And I'm so sad for you because that is not who you are. And if you want to continue to milk that crap until the day you die, go ahead. And you can be mad at me in the process. But it's going to block you from the sunlight of the Spirit till the day you die. God is not going to be able to use you unless you get through what's kicking your butt. And some of you guys, it's the alcohol and drugs, and some of you it's childhood trauma, and some of you it's abuse. And I'm not making light, and don't think for a second that I'm making light of any of that. It all needs to be addressed. But it's going to be addressed. Before you can help anybody else, you've got to get through it yourself. You follow? That's what the 12 steps will answer. If you don't think there's a God, I guarantee you, let's work the 12 steps and you're going to get there. Somebody took exception with my comments about depression. I'm going to tell you something, folks. The word depression elicits attention from people. Is it depression or is it self-pity? Because it looks a lot alike. Y'all with us on this one? Those of us that have suffered from real clinical depression in a fetal position underneath the bed, not being able to get out of the house, understand what that's about. Self-pity, you can just milk that just so long, and the people around you will say, you know what? Why don't you go outside and feel sorry for yourself? Because we're sick and tired of listening to your crap in here. Go with us? That's all I'm saying. Self-pity is what kills alcoholics and addicts. The big book says resentment's the number one offender. Read on. What it says is, as it's disguised, as it comes out as, with most of us, self-pity. Make sense? And why I can see it is because I are one. I've got to tell you, I said I didn't have a tattoo. If you look under my shirt, like it's a big V. You know, I'm the victim boy. Yeah? Y'all laugh. You don't know what it's like. Eye patch. And why do we do it? And why do we hang on to it? Because it works. I can pull that line on I guarantee you, if I did it in here, I could get the sympathy that I needed. I could borrow some money and get laid. I guarantee you. Wouldn't be much money and she probably wouldn't be real pretty, but why do we keep using the same old tried and true stuff? We do it because it works. Y'all with us? It's just like my first sponsor gave me permission to be happy. You know, it's okay to come into a meeting and shit. I mean, God, there's so many people I hear and talk to says, goddamn, Chris, my life's on fire and I'm loving everything about my life. And I said, buddy, I heard you in the meeting and you didn't open a mouth. I said, buddy, I'm embarrassed to share how good it is. Oh, man, we have screwed up. We've gotten so far off the page it's not even funny. AA, CA, all of our 12-step fellowships should be a pep rally. We're not supposed to be a goddamn dumping ground for people's problems, a little junior therapy session, a pissing and moaning group. I mean, guys, life is tough enough. I want to come for an hour and hear all the cool stuff that's going on. The miracles that you guys are walking through. The illnesses that you're walking through. The financial stuff that you're walking through. You're coming out the other side. That's the stuff we're going to share with the newcomer and pull them with our vision. You can't share it unless you can get past it. That's all I'm going to say. Once I sit down with a guy and we talk to him and I get some parameters around him, we're not going to do a whole sponsorship deal, but I want to make sure I'm qualifying the guy. If the guy wants to get sober, I'm going to help him. If the guy has any inkling that he doesn't want to get sober, and the big book calls it a lurking notion. Y'all know what, on page, I think it's 33 in the book, it says, if you've got a lurking notion that your case is different, then we need to talk about it. Because the lurking notion looks like this. I can stay sober for a while until I get off medication and then I'm going to drink again. Well, I don't want to mess with you. Because if that's where you're going with this, I'm not going to take time. Well, if you don't work with him, he might die. That's fine, but he's going to die on somebody else's watch. He's not going to die on mine. I don't have time to mess with somebody that's not done. And it's not my job to make sure you're done. I had a call from a lady. I've told this story. It happens all the time. She wanted me to come talk to her son. He says, I think he's ready to get sober. And I walked into his living room and I said, little brother, you want to get sober? You done? You finished with the cocaine? You finished with the alcohol? You want to get sober? You want to try something different? Well, I'm not real sure. Come on. Left the room. Lady chased me out in the parking lot, pissed, mad. What kind of 12-step call was that? A successful one. I stayed sober and I didn't piss him off and didn't try to jam this down his throat. Make sense? This is a program of attraction. Me trying to talk him into getting sober ain't attractive. Y'all with us? That's why one of the little things I have to talk to you guys about in the next hour with a little big book thumpers. You know, it's like sometimes we have a tendency to get a little rough with this big book. A lot of you guys in here, we know enough in this book to be dangerous. We walk in and somebody misquotes a page, you know, and we eat their butts. You know, you're off the page and, you know, man, only thing we're doing is looking like idiots when we do that. We're not supposed to do that. Love and tolerance. Take them out back and beat them up. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I wanted to show you something real quick. I was going through some archival stuff this summer. The guy that brought Alcoholics Anonymous to Texas was a guy named Larry Jewell. And in 1940, he started corresponding back with Ruth Hawk in New York. And
this little archival piece I have is just a compilation of correspondence between Larry and the first guys that started AA in Texas and New York with Bill Wilson and those guys. But this, in one of these letters, it was in 1940. Now remember, guys, this is a year after the Big Book was published in the first edition. In this letter, he says, I stuck to the principle, this is Larry Jewell talking, I stuck to the principle that this is strictly a spiritual business and did so against great odds, even to the extent of telling those who were inclined to diminish the importance of that principle that our group was not for them. Though they were welcomed as friends, we mean business. We aren't in this thing for fun. Damn! Oh, Larry was a thumper. But we think the message was all watered down because of the treatment centers. Everybody want to blame the treatment centers. But this is a long time before any treatment centers ever started out, 1940. But already, a year after the Big Book was published, they were already catching resistance to the spiritual solution. Because I'm just trying to say, guys, y'all get ready. Because in the trench, you're going to take some heat. If what you have to offer is a spiritual solution for alcoholism, and you understand that and you believe that, and you're telling somebody else something different, you better look at what you're doing. The steps were intended to help bring about a spiritual experience. Again, I've said it 1,000 times this morning, this is not a self-help program. Bill Wilson wrote, if you want to see a copy of this letter, it's in As Bill Sees It. He wrote this letter in 1966. That was 5 years before he passed away. The AA preoccupation with sobriety is sometimes misunderstood. Would y'all agree that in AA, do we have a misconception that this is all about just not drinking? I mean, you pick up any periodical, any piece of AA literature, and that's what it talks about. All you have to do is stay sober today. That's not true. That's not what this was about. Subsequent AA literature talks about that, but the Big Book didn't. Bill Wilson in 1966 knew it wasn't. To some, the single virtue seems to be the sole dividend of our fellowship. We were thought to be dried-up drunks who otherwise have changed little or not at all for the better. Such a surmise widely misses the truth. We know that, here it is, we know that permanent sobriety can be attained only by a most revolutionary change in the life and outlook of the individual, by a spiritual awakening that can banish the desire to drink. If we as a fellowship in any of our are carrying a message that doesn't include that, we're off the page. And I know that some of you in here got sober without the spiritual experience. And I know you believe it's your right to carry that message to somebody else. But my concern is that you squeaked under the door, half measures, middle of the road, but you assume that the little guy next to you is going to be able to do the same thing. And I just get tired of it. We talked about it earlier. Everybody just wants to wring their hands. When you guys go out and kill yourself, jump off a bridge, get killed in a car wreck, we bury you, and then somebody sits back in the back, well, you know, the truth of the matter is that the little bastard just didn't want it. Well, wait a minute. Who was it that told him that all he had to do was just go to a meeting and everything was going to be okay? I can't fix you. I wish I could. God can fix you. That spiritual experience. Once I qualified a guy and I give him a case of alcoholism and drug addiction, he's got a little tension around him. The first step experience is uncomfortable as hell. I hear people, oh, guess what? I'm an alcoholic. You're not there yet. I've been in the room when people were diagnosed with terminal cancer, and you could just feel the air leave the room. That's a diagnosis of alcoholism and drug addiction, folks. And you're sitting in there, you get uncomfortable with this. You sit with it. It's not fun. And that's what propels you through the rest of the steps, is this discomfort around the first step experience. You with us? If you've got a lurking notion, guy comes back in after 9 months and he hasn't worked the steps. Well, I think I didn't make my amends properly. That's not it. You didn't understand first step. It's always about first step, because if you understand first step, you'll do whatever it takes to make those damned amends. You with us? That one amend, guys, that you're not going to make because nobody's going to ever find out about it anyway. The one you're going to drink over eventually. If you think you're really an alcoholic, making that amend will be like kissing a baby's butt compared to what you're fixing to face. Make sense? It's always about first step. Do I really think that I can get by without working the rest of these steps? Talked to a lady
yesterday coming from Houston. She's been sitting on a 4-step. I'm still working on that old 4-step, giggle, giggle, but I'm going to get to it one of these days. I says, honey, you've been out of treatment 8 months. And you had a nearly completed 4-step when you left our hospital. And now 8 months later, you're still sitting on it. You're going to die. You think that you've got something to do with whether you drink or not. You follow? She thinks she's got a choice. Because she's been sitting on a stupid 4-step. Well, I didn't understand it. I had questions about it. 8 months you've had questions about it. And you didn't ask those questions? You understand? God. 1st step stuff is what we got to get. 2nd step, we've asked the guy, are you willing to believe there's a power out there greater than yourself? 9 times out of 10, the guy says, yep, probably is. Next. Man, I go to these 2nd and 3rd step meetings and listen to you guys, and that's all you want to talk about. Well, when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I hated God, and I didn't want anything to do with God. Shut up! Who cares? We're killing. The book says over half of us didn't have a problem with God. You with us? It says half of us did, half of us didn't. But to hear it in our meetings, everybody's had a problem with God. I'm eating out of dumpsters in 1976 in Houston, Texas, and I know damn good and well that God's there with me. But I can't stop drinking. Y'all understand? I didn't have a problem with that. So why are we going to waste any time talking about it? I want you to write a conception of what you think God is. If I have a problem, let's do that little exercise. If I don't have a problem, we're wasting time. 2nd step is one question. Do you believe there's a power out there greater than yourself? It's a yes or no question. Oh, damn it. Yes. All right, let's go. 3rd step, are you willing to make that power a part of your life? Are you willing to give some control over to this power? Because we've done such a great job ourselves. God. I mean, it's hilarious to sit with a newcomer and watch him try to justify why, you've done such a great job. I mean, good heavens, I understand that. Can you imagine with the power of God with you? The book says in that chapter to the agnostics, lack of power, that's the dilemma. It doesn't say lack of power around the alcohol and dope. That's a part of it. Lack of power in all the areas of my life. Y'all with us? I'm going to move away from this. I want to point something out. You see that little word that says unmanageable? They're not talking about your external world. They're talking about what's going on inside. Let me ask you the questions we always do. How many of you guys drank and drugged when life was great? How many when it was really, really crappy? When you had lots of money. Not a pot up it, yeah. Good-looking girl. Yeah, no girl. Yeah, the kind you have to blow up. I know. And we all laugh about it, guys, but see, that's the deal. And so we all laugh about it, and we say, yeah, that's right. Because the unmanageability that the book is talking about, the 2nd step stuff, and the lack of power, is about the unmanageability inside. You keep chasing that idea that everything out here is going to get... I can get sober if I can finally make some money. I can get sober if you finally marry me. You with me? I can get sober if we can finally have babies. I can get sober if we can just shoot those babies. I can get sober if we can just... I hear it all the time. Y'all with us? You're just always waiting on something else to change. The good news is, nobody out there has to change for you to get sober. The questions are this. Are you willing to let that power... But I don't know about that power. I don't know what that power looks like. Me neither. Answer the damn question. Well, but so many people got killed in the wars and the Christian. I didn't ask you if you wanted to be a Christian. I asked you if you're willing to believe in the power greater than yourself and willing to let that power help you stay sober. Yes or damn it, no. Well, I'm just not sure. Thank you, baby. Did you hear what you said? Move on. That's exactly what I did. No, go read this. No, go read that. No, let's talk about it tomorrow. Bye-bye. And some of you are irritated. Well, my sponsor worked with me for months on this. Good for you. And she missed 100 other drunks she could be working with while she was trying to baby you. You either want what we got or you don't. This is about the spiritual experience. Go follow? Some of y'all are getting so uncomfortable. Oh, I love it. When you had your spiritual experience that you're fixing to have because I pissed you off, you're gonna send me so much money. Okay.
Third step prayer, we take them to him. We talk to him seriously. We look in page 62 with the new guy, and we say, selfish and self-centeredness, that's the root of the problems. Are y'all with me? The root of the problem is not alcohol and dope. The root of the problem is that I'm selfish and self-centered to the core. Y'all follow? Yes, people want to take exception with that. The bottles were the symptoms. The dope's the symptom. It's the selfish and self-centeredness. If I could just get out of my head, I could experience the beauty of this world. But I can't, because I'm we're like a bunch of ingrown hairs. Not a pretty sight, is it? Okay. And then we look at the prayer on page 63, and we go over this little prayer with him, and I explain it to him. It says, God, I'm going to offer myself to you to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self. You see it? There again, in the second page, it says it. Relieve me of the bondage of self. Not relieve me of the bondage of crack cocaine. Self is what's got me. That I might better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over those difficulties can bear witness to those I would help. You'll see what it's saying? He's saying that all God's kids got troubles. Every one of us we're going to let God take us to a different spot, and then we're going to turn around and get our little butts back in a meeting, and we're going to start sharing that in meetings. We're going to start talking about it from the podium, about how cool life is in sobriety. Listen, guys, because that's exactly what it's got to be. I listen to your stories when you come up afterwards, and we just get to hug necks, and I get to watch you walk through the Hep C and the treatments and the financial difficulties and the molestations and the rapes. Good. That's what God's going to do with us. He's going to allow us to bear witness to what happened in our lives. And all of you, you don't have to have a story like me or a story like you. You've got your own story. God's going to use it. That next hour, we're going to talk about it. And that's all the book is trying to tell us, is that God's going to remove your difficulties so victory over those can bear witness to those that you're going to help. God, what a cool prayer. We found it desirable to do the spiritual step with an understanding person. Do it with whoever you want to. Do it by yourself if you have to. But the bottom line is, do it. Well, my sponsor had me get on my knees. That's great. Some people don't want to do that. I don't care. Say the prayer. Wording is optional. Y'all cool? Here's the key piece everybody wants to miss. I did a third step prayer. Next, we launched out on a course of vigorous action. First step is personal house cleaning. We get up off our knees from doing a third step prayer. We've given our life to God. Say, okay, buddy, what are we going to do with it? Now we need to do a little inventory and find out what we can discard. We need to move on. Get with the inventory. I was talking to a guy. I've talked to some of you about it. I was over in Seattle doing a talk, and my talk was on a Saturday, and we went over to listen to this old geezer talk on a Friday night with this Indian reservation. He's passed away now. He was sober 40-plus years. Bill was his name. He was just the nicest old guy. But he talks about getting sober, and he talks about on his third day of sobriety, he's out there working in a logging clearing out there, and his sponsor drives up in an old car and hands him a notebook and says, it's time to start working on a fourth step. And there was 200 people in the room, and everybody just busted out laughing. You'd have thought he told the funniest AA joke on the world. And I'm looking at the guys I'm with, all little thumpers, and we're saying, what the hell's funny about that? It's exactly what we're supposed to do. Everybody has this misunderstanding, this misgiving about what the fourth step is about. Fourth step's an inventory, folks. Treatment centers want to drag this out. I've got an 80-page four-step guide on my desk right now. 80, I'd send it to you, but I couldn't afford the postage. Oh my God. Can you imagine a little fried pie coming back in, little blips all burned up from a crack pipe and all just nutcase, and you drop an 80-page guide? Well, here, let's get started on this fourth step. You know, just forget it. I'm going to go drink. This is nuts. It's an inventory. It's supposed to be done on you could do it on a couple of little pieces of paper. Y'all follow? The guy that has 10 resentments is going to do a successful inventory. The guy that has 200 resentment, that's fine. But guys, we got to get serious about this. You say a little prayer, say, God, show me who I'm pissed at. I can do this. I can do this. And then you write their names down. I haven't even thought of some of these people in 30 years. You're not pissed at these people. Why are you writing this? This is not an exercise in writing. I want to see the current stuff. The job. You with me? The people at work. AA. I want to see some names on there that we can dig our teeth in. I don't know what. My second grade coach. Oh. You know what the term couch broke means? It means it's too deep in therapy. And everybody's out to get me. And my second grade coach, and I've been carrying it for 50 years. You're a pussy. Now you can put me on the inventory. Let's move on. If we ever had more time, we could do this, because it takes a little time, and I'm not going to spend the intricacies in it, but it's pretty simple. I make a list of the people I'm pissed at. Second column, why am I pissed at these people? And I got to be honest about it. If I lie in the second column, I'm going to lie in the last column. That's the way it works. Got to get honest. Third column, there's pages on there that shows you areas that are affected by my resentments. You with us? These actions. Fourth column, I'm looking at my part. All those inventories to help me see my part so I can get free of this victim crap. You with us? I don't want to hear one single question about this. Well, what about me? I was molested. Listen, let me tell you point blank. I'm not saying that you caused it. I'm saying if you can see your part in it, how long did you carry that without telling anybody? 30 years? That's your part. Bless your heart. Move on. We're not going to spend any more time on that than we are with the next door neighbor that keeps getting your newspaper. No, I'm not making light of that. I'm saying this is not therapy. We're making a list of, you with us, of the resentments. Also, I'm going to make a point. Seems to be a misconception that we don't put our name on there. The book tells me to put my name on the list. My inventory, it says sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. Some of you guys, you're your own worst enemy. You can't see the sun out of the spirit because you're too busy beating your own self up. And you need to get to a spot where you stop resenting yourself. You're going to do that the same way you're going to stop resenting your ex-husband. You're going to put his damn name in the first column and do this inventory work. It's the most freeing, fun thing you'll ever do. But we paint this picture in all of our fellowships that it's a joke. You go into any meeting tonight and say, I'm working on a 4-step, and everybody will go, oh, that was torture. I worked on mine for 6 years, and then Is it any wonder that nobody wants to attack it? You'll follow? It's something to be done quickly, guys. When I'm sponsoring a guy, I've got to get him in there. We're going to get up from the 3rd step prayer. I'm going to hug his neck. I'm going to give him instructions on how to do a 4th step, and I'm going to walk him straight through it and says, oh, by the way, a week from today, we're doing your 5th step. Period. Well, I don't think I can do it. Well, this started out well, but it's ending bad. I'll see you later. Y'all understand? I'm not going to give him time to sit there and stew in this. If we watch hundreds and thousands of you people relapse around the 4th step. Why? Because some sponsor that doesn't have time to mess with you anyway is letting you swim in your own juices. Don't let them stew in that stuff. We're going to make a list. We're going to look at this stuff. I'm going to help them see their part in the 4th column. They're going to get free. We're going to do a little 2-column fear inventory. Why do I got the fear? And why do I think I got it? It's because I'm dependent on something besides God. That's why. I'm going to look at my sex inventory. Sex inventory, guys, there's 9 questions in there to answer around my relationships with the opposite sex. You with me? My relationship with you. If I'm doing a proper 4th step, I could sit down and do a 5th step with you, including my sex inventory, and you would never blush and I would never blush. Because I'm talking about my behavior towards women, and it ain't got jack to do with pokey-pokey. Everybody thinks that this 5th step is about confession. It's not. 5th step is a piece of it. It's confession. I need to tell you some secrets that I'm keeping. You with me? But that's not all it is. Make sense? How do I treat women? See guys, when I sit down to a 5th step with them, they get all excited. Oh, goody, now let's do the sex inventory. We're done here, thank you. We're finished. If you wrote that crap down the way you treated God's kids, and you're excited about talking about it, we are so not on the same page. Bye-bye now. You'll follow? Real simple, direct. Takes you a week to knock it down, finish it. Guys, if you forget something on this and God brings it, God says He will constantly reveal more to you. 6 months down the road, if you want to do another little 4th step, 5th step, and a year, I do one once a year and do multiple 5th steps. I sit down and do a 5th step with you, and you do a piece with me, and then we go to you and do one. The more people I get to know and allow them to know me, the freer I get. You'll follow? We got a bunch of you in here walking around on pins and needles because you're still afraid somebody's going to find out about that bad stuff. Get free. Y'all follow? Everybody thinks everybody's going to run screaming from the room when we start reading. Sponsor's prayer is this. Keep me awake. And God, please, if it's not too much trouble, let me hear something different. Oh my gosh. All right. We dumped that old 5th step. While you're doing a 5th step, I've got a piece of paper lined out, and I've got an 8th step list on there, and I've got a 6th step list. You with me? I usually got it on
divided piece of paper. So what we're going to do is, it says an hour later, we're going to get quiet with God, and we're going to go back over the first proposals. We're going to make sure the stones are in place, blah, blah. Y'all know the drill. What we're going to do is we're going to get quiet. We're going to look at this business, and then we're going to go to God in 6 and 7 and ask God to remove the character defects. We got a character defect list from the deal. As you're telling me what you're doing, resentments, I'm writing it down. Jealous, selfish. Anytime you're judging somebody, you're being selfish. You follow? It's just that simple. I think I know how the world's supposed to be. Now, fearful, greedy, and I'm jotting them down, and I'm going to use that. And then while you're making this list, while you're telling me your fifth step, I'm writing a little list of my own about the people I think you might owe amends to. Because you're telling me the people you hate. Trust me, usually if you hate somebody, you've done something to... You need to clean up your stuff. So I'm writing this down. We got a beginning 8-step list by the time we finish that 5th step. Cool? Hour later, we do 6 and 7. Guys, God removes the character defect. I become willing. I need to know what I'm looking at. You follow? But this stuff coming back in the meetings, the guys, I say, I'm working on 6 and 7. I'm working on 6 and 7. Jiminy. It's 2 paragraphs. What do you practice being an asshole? I mean, I don't understand. I've seen some deficiencies, and I'm willing to go to God with those. I ask God to remove them. You with me? I get up. I've got my 8-step list. I sit down with my sponsor again, and my little sponsee. We're working together. I'm going to help you organize your amends. We're going to look at all the amends. Which ones can we do now? Which ones do we need to put off for a couple of weeks, days? I don't know. Whatever. Initially now, everybody wants to. But what we want to do is we want to make our first approach. We got cats in this room right now that have been sober a lot of years that still have financial amends they're not making. And I know that because it's frustrating because a lot of us are in debt and we can't go write a big old fat check. That's what I want to do. Here's your $20,000. But you know what? When it push come to shove, that old boy that I owed the money to, he would take $10 a week until it got paid off over nothing. But I've hid from him for 3 years because I was unwilling to do that. You follow? You want the results of the amends? Make your first approach. And then don't back down from it. If you tell that credit card company you're going to send them $5 a month, send them $5 a month. And you go hungry before you don't send them $5 a month. It's my job as a sponsor is to help you organize your amends so we can start making those damn things. It's not an option. I watch people relapse around these all day long. You follow? Talking to a buddy of mine the other day, had a position open for him. This was the job he'd been looking for forever and ever. He's 7 years sober, and we sat down with it like this. He called me right before I left to get on the plane. He called me and says he got turned down for the job. There was one little chicken shit piece of stuff on his record that he knew about and didn't clean up. Why? Because he didn't think anybody would ever find out about it. This was a high security job. They knew about it. And it cost him a job. You follow? Now he's pissed. Wah, wah, wah. I needed that job. Didn't God know? Wait a minute. Who made a conscious choice to look the other way on this little piece of dishonesty? I got to tell you something, folks. You do something to the world over here, it's going to come up and bite you in the butt over here. The old expression is what goes around comes around. You kick at the universe, it kicks back. Some of you wonder why you're so unlucky? Because you put some stuff out there. You want to start cleaning it up? Some good stuff will start coming back around. And I know there's a bunch of you in here that do not believe that think that's just hokey. I've seen it too many times. Make sense? Start cleaning up the universe. I'll tell you the way I do it. With these amends, we could talk 2 hours about this, but I was in the food business and it harmed a lot of people. Waitresses. Busboys. And I'm a cook, and I'm got the reins, and so you bring me beer, alcohol, whatever, your orders get, you don't. Some of y'all are waitresses, y'all know me. I'm sorry, and but that's just it. I worked with thousands of waitresses in my 15 years in the food business. There's no way I could go make personal amends to those. Some of those people I could make because I kept them as friends. I knew them, and I made amends for my boorish behavior. But the truth of the matter is today, I make a standing point until the day I die to make amends to waitresses. If I go into a restaurant and I don't have enough money for the food and the tip, I don't go into the restaurant. And I ain't talking about some little measly
clink, clink, tip. I'm talking, that's here in Canada, that's real money, isn't it? When you do it. That's heavy stuff. First time I came to Canada for a CA deal like that, they were passing the basket and they were dropping it in. I said, bunch of cheap bastards. So they're dropping loonies and toonies, and I'm thinking, I didn't know it was worth money. I thought it was just... But I'll tip to a fault, and I guarantee you, if a waitress or somebody cook gives me some food that I don't like, I'll just sit there. It drives my wife crazy. Why don't you send it back? Nope, because it'll take that waitress's time, and it'll make her uncomfortable, and it's not her fault. She didn't cook it. I'm just not going to eat it. Make sense? You think, well, that's stupid. No, it's a way I can set the universe straight. Sooner or later, you're going to stop hurting people. Sooner or later, you're going to stop hurting people. I'm going to make these amends. Then I'm going to practice. While I'm making these amends, I'm going to practice the disciplines of 10, 11, and 12. You'll follow? 10th step stuff is this accountability piece. Guys, it's just not that complicated. On a daily basis, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to look back over my day. I do it in the morning or I do it at night, and I'm going to see, where have I been selfish and dishonest and fearful? Where am I off the page? Have I harmed anybody? Did I cuss too much? Did I get too snippy with the guy at the screener at the airport? You'll follow? Did that a few weeks ago, Sat down and did it. The next day I was back in the airport. I made a point to go find him. He was on break. He said, this guy wants to talk to you. I went in there and I apologized for getting snippy with him. He was just doing his job. You'll follow? Oh, Chris, what difference does it make? He probably didn't even remember you. Trust me. He remembered me. He also remembered the fact that I came and made amends, and I was a good example that day of what Alcoholics Anonymous was about. I'm going to say it again, guys. We've got to stop stirring up the universe. Stop kicking up the mud. We're going to do this on a daily basis when we see it. The book says when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. What does the word promptly mean to y'all? Well, I'll pick it up when I do an inventory in 6 months. No, it means now. I'm going to... By my bed, I always keep a little piece of paper and I write that stuff down, and the next day I go and I clean up the wreckage of my past. So I'm not carrying all that crap around with me on a daily basis. You'll follow? Send somebody an email. It comes across, you know how emails sometimes, they misunderstand what you say in an email? And it happens to me all the time because I'm pretty short, quick anyway. Y'all send me an email. Y'all do it all the time. Y'all send me just page after page of emails, and rock on, but dude, love XO, Chris Raymer, send. I just don't have time to answer that kind of an email, except I'm proud of you, go get them, Email me back, you were offended because I didn't answer every little stupid thing that you made a comment on. But now I got to go clean it up, and I take care of that. That's what we do. Prayer and meditation. Guys, we work the 12 steps so that we can get a conscious contact with God. All clear on that? So if we're not getting quiet with God on a regular basis, what the hell are we doing? I can't tell you how many people I work with, when I ask them about their 11th step prayer stuff, I ask them, where do you pray? Do you have a place in your house that you can go to and be quiet where the stupid dogs aren't eating you and the kids are not... You know what I'm saying? A little place where maybe you can read some of your spiritual literature or just get quiet with God for a few minutes. It's amazing to me how many people don't have that. Where do you go to pray? Go out in the garage. Why? Well, I don't want my wife seeing me. Oh, this is going to be good. Let me see if I can get this straight. You're begging God on a daily basis to keep you sober and give you the power to do life and make you some money and make you successful and keep you healthy, but you're ashamed to let her know you're praying. Oh, God loves this. It swallows like the one that says, where do you meditate? Oh, in the morning, doing my business. I'm in the bathroom and I got to get quiet. Oh, God's going to appreciate you went out of your way for that little quiet moment. I pray and meditate when I'm driving. Yeah, so you're the guy driving 6 miles an hour out there in the center lane. Come on. Get quiet with God. Turn the stupid TV off. Get the iPod out of your ear and get quiet with God. It's in the stillness that we get to hear God's word. Double amen. But see, here's the problem. A bunch of you in here are not hearing God's word, and you're pissed about it. But you're blocking you from that guidance. These guys come up to the hospital. I'm talking to my case manager. I don't know what to do about my marriage. You know what? She don't know either. She's never walked a day in your shoes. Y'all follow? You want to go answer shop. You want to go answer shop with everybody in the area. What do you think I'll do? What do you think I should do? I'm not saying don't bounce it off people. Go ahead. But ultimately, the answer is going to come from God. You with this? Every time I do this, guys, I do dozens of these a year talking about the steps. Every time somebody will come up, I promise you, come up and say, yeah, like right. Like God's going to tell you what to do. Like, like give you instructions. Like, yeah. God, of course. That's exactly what Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob were talking about. We need a spiritual experience. We need to get connected. You read the 10-step promises. It says we're going to be placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We've not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. How cool is that? Some of this power starts to flow in, and you start to see that this is about, you think this is all about happy. Some of us are just going to be miserable. Have a nice life. I don't know what to tell you. You seem to have this all figured out. You've got it you've got it all in your mind of exactly how it's all going to play out. God's not going to bring you any money. He's not going to straighten out your credit. He's not going to help you in the health department. You're just talking about contempt prior to investigation. But you got to get quiet. You get quiet with God, guys, and you work these other steps, you're going to get some guidance. Don't try this prayer and meditation business until you get all this other stuff cleaned out. The Bible talks a lot about it. Don't go to me and talk to me about stuff you need when you've got hate for a man in the rooms. Make sense? You can't hate a person on this earth and expect to be spiritually connected. It's not going to happen. The audacity about that. I need to sum it up by just saying this. This program is not about justice. And we got entirely too many people in AA expecting this to be about justice. This is about mercy. Thank God it's not about justice. This room would be empty. We would be gone. I don't like gay people. You know what? You need to get straight with that. You need to get your mind around this. You cannot appreciate the lifestyle, but you can't be harboring ill feelings towards another entity. You think you're spiritually connected as a bigot? You're not. We sit in AA and we allow it to happen day in, day out. Make sense, guys? In prayer and meditation, the disciplines, every day I get quiet and I look at my life. Every day I spend a quiet time with God, prayer and meditation. One of the guys in my sponsorship, Lynn, is a guy named Paul M. up in Chicago. And he spends 45 minutes, an hour in the morning, 45 minutes, an hour at night meditating. Some of us have full-time jobs who can't afford to do that much, but he's on the right track. And I've got to tell you, his life is golden because he spends quiet time with God. You will know what to do. Am I supposed to go back to school? Am I supposed to move to Texas? You ugly guys stay here. We have enough of you already done anything. No, but I don't know. But I do know if you get quiet, God will start showing you. The other discipline, of course, is the piece that we don't talk about near enough, and that's working with others. And Bill Wilson is crystal clear about this business about working with others. It's not an option. I want to read something to you, and then we're going to take a quick break and we'll finish up because we're going to end up asking some questions and we'll run over that hour. I want to show you something on page 14 in the book. Bottom of page 14, top of page 15. I'm going to take a chance and pray that I don't scald somebody by reading this because I don't want to do that. Bottom of page 14. This is in Bill's story. Eddie Thatcher, the little guy that 12-stepped Bill Wilson, he's talking about this. Roland Hazard snagged Ebby from the streets, took him to his house, worked him through the 12 steps. Then it was 6 steps, but the rudimentary spiritual principles, which originally was first century Christianity. It was just get off your butt and go help somebody, basically what it was. And he worked these steps, and Eddie got caught fired within a few weeks. He went and found Bill Wilson. You with us? He didn't sit down at the Alano Club and play dominoes and wait for the drunk to come in the door. He went and looked for a drunk to work with because he knew he had to. Here's what it said. My friend, he's talking about Eddie, had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly was it imperative to work with others as he had worked with me. You see that word imperative? It means you've got to do it. Faith without works was dead, he said, and how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic fails to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he would surely drink again, and if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that. Did you get it? He's saying if you want to grow spiritually, you've got to go work with others. We got too many people. I'll tell you one of the big things in Texas down in the Bible belts. We got a lot of people coming into AA. And a lot of these guys will start realizing that actually we're going to ask you to do something in here. And so they say, you know what? This is all spiritual in nature. I'm just going to go back to my church. And I think it's a great idea. I think all of us should go back to our roots if that's what we want to do. Go back to church. But you're still going to have to go work with a drunk. And if you don't work with a drunk, go work with an old person. If you don't work with an old person, go find you a sick one to work with. But you're going to do something to get out of your head. And it's not an option. This is why a lot of people don't stay sober in the church, because they go on Sunday morning, they drop a 20 in the basket, and they say, well, I'm done what I'm supposed to do. No. No. Work through self-sacrifice. See, the cats that put this together, that did all the legwork, are going to be blessed from that. Not just the obvious way they get to stay sober. There'll be some other blessings attached. The people that sat back there and made coffee all day long. The people that are end up cleaning the damn toilets after we leave from this place. The people that work, self-sacrifice for others, they're the ones that are going to get blessed. But we paint this picture in Alcoholics Anonymous that this is some kind of an option. It's not. That's what we got to talk about in the next hour. Y'all go smoke. We'll be back here. And he had like 8 years of sobriety. He was our go-to guy down in the valley. And you need Cocaine Anonymous, you need an AA contact down in the valley, you call me and I'll give you Alan's number, because he's active in the deal. He's worked the steps. We know he has because he's working with us. He stays connected. Really, then he dropped off the face of the earth. He got a little pissing contest with somebody in Cocaine Anonymous. My name's Chris Raymond. Grateful we covered. They had a little disagreement. And how cool is this? Solved the disagreement by taking his big book and going home. Talk about this 12 steps. Wah wah and wah wah. Now, I can relate to this. I mean, I'm a big yeah. A lot of work. The discipline stuff, remember? And he did. He went home and he's sharp and he goes to church and he's okay. And yet, gradually, day by day, the internal condition came back and started kicking his butt. And the answer in his head was, about 3 years after he walked out of that meeting, was, I can smoke pot. And that's what he did. And he led him back to the other stuff, and now he's, I don't know how it's going to all end up. He's very sick now physically, and I see thousands of these things. Alcoholism is progressive. It's genetic, we talked about earlier, and it will get you eventually. What worked for you 10 years ago ain't necessarily going to work with you today. What y'all need to hear about me and my story is that I work with more guys now than I ever did when I first got sober. You follow? And it's like, because I have to. Because I feel a sense of urgency to do it, some responsibility to do it, but I want to stay connected. And I got to tell you, we were talking earlier about the spiritual connection. I watch in Alcoholics Anonymous, all of our fellowships, I watch a bunch of us have the same experience over and over with God. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that eventually it'll stop working for you. My sponsor always says, Chris, I smell more. And that's what I'm asking you guys. That's what I smell more. I don't want to live off the experience that I had 21 years ago. I sat on the tailgate of a truck 2 weeks after I started doing the work and cried in the presence of God, knowing that I was safe and that I was protected. And that was a pretty cool experience. But guys, I'm not living off that experience. I remember it because I talk about it quite frequently. But I'm excited about the experiences that I've had. Somebody asked me about some spiritual reading, and I've spent some time in airports, and I find myself in this last year or two just, being touched by other literature, not just AA stuff. Just being pulled in certain directions. It was a couple of years ago, I made a decision that I wasn't going to do this anymore. I was sick and tired of taking flack from people that I didn't want to take flack from. And just because you tell somebody the truth doesn't make you mean. But it translates that way sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I tell you something and you don't want to hear it, then I'm the bad guy. And yet, the true friends that we have in this world are the people that will do that. My friends will tell me if I've got a little booger in my nose, But let's face it, most of us will just snicker and look the other way. You know, oh my God, he's got a booger in his nose. You know, but some of you guys, you'll call a spade, and that's what we do. And we're not trying to be mean or hurtful, but we're just, you know, if what you're doing is working for you, rock on. But if it's not working for you, if you don't feel like you're being fulfilled in the fellowship, if you're walking into these meetings and you're just bored with AA, then there's a problem there. Why don't we listen to this and look at this spiritually, and let's fix the problem? Because that's what this is all about. This is spiritual growth is what Eddie was talking about. It's what Bill was talking about. I want to grow spiritually. I don't want to stay the same. And God continues to... Man, I'm sitting in one of the books. There's a book about homeless guys in Fort Worth. Written about the same difference as me. And it's written about this black guy, this slave, and he comes and he's living on the street. And anyway, he becomes friends with this guy, and they start a mission, and they're down there feeding the poor. And I'm sitting there, and I've about got everybody convinced that I can get off the circuit. I've talked to my sponsor, and well, Chris, you do what you need to do. And I've talked to work, and I've talked to my wife, and I'm going to back off, and I'm going to only speak maybe 5-6 times a year, and I'm just going to back completely off, you know. And of course, I read this book, and I'm sitting on the airplane coming back from Seattle, and Korn has a song called "Coming Undone." And I'm on this plane, and this flight attendant's walking by, and she stops, and she said, "Are you all right?" And I'm coming undone. You follow? I'm sitting on this plane crying like a girl, and I have to put the book down, and I'll stop, and I'll get my stuff together, and open it back up, and start crying again. It's like, because God's having His way with me sitting on that airplane. I wish He would just wait until I got home, you know, so I could cry like a girl in private, but I got to do it on a crowded American flight. And God's going to take you. You know what? God will tell me when I'm done. God will tell you when you're done. You know, my mama asked me the other day, she said, "Chris, when's your debt to AA going to be paid?" She asked that all the time. Every time a holiday comes, "When's your debt to AA?" I'm going to tell you something. My debt to Alcoholics Anonymous will never be done. My mama didn't... Yeah, well... My mama didn't see me eating out of dumpsters in Houston, Texas. She did not. I made special attention to protect her from a lot of crazy stuff that we did out there. And she didn't have to see that. She didn't need to know about it. But bottom line is, when will my debt be? Listen, guys, when I'm sitting on the tailgate of that truck and it hits me for the first time in my adult life that the obsession to drink and to do cocaine and to eat those pills is gone, I'm going to tell you, it was an experience. And I knew from that moment that you could get free from this. But those old geezers, when I walked into Alcoholics Anonymous, that old guy that got hold of me, and that kid that started to sponsor me, he was a year sober, less than a year sober, when he started sponsoring me. And he said, "Buddy, this is what we're going to do." My sponsor had me working with others.
We did this in Iceland one time, not realizing that all the page numbers were different. All that great planning on my part was right out the window. For those who are unable to drink moderately, drug moderately, and I don't have a problem in the world with that, but I'm here to share some experience with the steps and sponsorship and the program of recovery from my perspective, my point of view. Years working in the treatment center industry and years trying to get sober and not being able to get sober. So I get lots of emails from lots of people around the world, and a lot of you guys, you truly do share my...
I don't know what I just said I'll do, but you... And your sponsor will say, "That's okay." I don't know either. We'll walk together through this. When I got there in 1987, these old guys got around me and they said, "Chris, the reason you can't stay sober is because you're selfish and self-centered to the core. You do great as long as everything's going your way. But when life starts throwing you some zingers, you crumble like a deck of cards. You need to realize that you have a place here, that you're going to be able to touch certain people that nobody else can touch. So why don't you practice getting out of yourself? It looks like this. We're going to go make some coffee. We're going to clean up the ashtrays." "No, I don't smoke." "You clean up the ashtrays." "No, you're here to serve the group. We will clean up the ashtrays." Y'all follow? We need somebody to answer the phone. No, I just got here. I am the most important person here, remember? Clink. I got my little desire chip. I'm going to milk this for a while. I'm going to walk around and feel sorry for myself, and I think I'm detoxing still. I need to
No, they said, buddy, you can do that, but you're going to answer the phone. And the phone rang. Ding, 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 you know. And I'm sitting there. No. See, I don't want to look stupid. I said, that's the biggest fear in this room right now. That's why you won't sponsor somebody. That's why you won't reach out to help somebody. Is you don't want to look stupid. You're afraid you're going to hurt somebody. Yeah, how can you hurt a drunk? I mean, it's a train wreck, guys. It's already a bloody mess. You can't mess it up. We're going to go into this thing with working with others with a clear understanding that we are not therapists, we are not doctors, and we are not bankers. I need to borrow some money. Don't do that. I need some. What do I do? I don't know. I got to live.
We did this in Iceland one time, not realizing that all the page numbers were different. All that great planning on my part was right out the window. In the program of recovery, from my perspective, my point of view, years working in the treatment center industry and years trying to get sober, not being able to get sober. So I get lots of emails from lots of people around the
Eat me. No, because I don't want to do anything because it makes me feel uncomfortable. Remember the first time somebody asked you to read how it works? I got a little throat thing going on here. I don't want. Why? You're afraid you're going to mess it up? You are. Of course you are. So what? Everybody's going to laugh and we're going to move on. Stop taking yourself so seriously. These guys just sat right there and waited. I said, okay, what do I do? She says, now you're talking. Answer the phone. Louisville Group. Louisville Group. Got that so far. I knew the person on the phone. That's how God works. And she says, Chris, is that you? And I says, so-and-so, is that you? And it turned out I drank with her husband. And she wanted a meeting for an Al-Anon. She says, she wants an Al-Anon meeting. She said, the schedule's right there. Let me show you right here. Tell her right here. She says, listen, there's a meeting at 7 o'clock, and I'll be right here. I'm not doing anything. Obviously. Social calendar completely empty. And I'll meet you out front. You remember what I look like, and there you go. And so I waited for her, and she pulled up, and she got out, and she says, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I was so nervous to do this, but I've got to do something. She says, what are you doing down here? I says, I'm sober. 2 days. But see, this is the grinder. But I'm sober, and I want to stay sober. You got to do exactly what the book says. Away. You follow? Took her to the meeting. Back there, got her a cup of coffee, introduced her to the lady that I just met that day in Al-Anon, and she hugged her neck. Y'all follow? I walked back out to that phone room. Oh, I've done this. Phone rung. Somebody was starting to reach for. Oh, listen, buddy, you got to be careful here. This phone is very important, and it can be very dangerous. Oh shit! I could be back down the hall in the bathroom, and the phone ring. I'll get it. Oh shit! They created a damn monster. But what they did was they gave me the opportunity to feel useful. You follow? Guys, I'm less than 24 hours away from a suicide attempt. And now they're telling me, come on, you can do this. You can help us out. I want to make a point real clear because people want to split hairs with this all the time. Working with others doesn't necessarily mean sponsorship. You can't show somebody how to do a 4-step unless you've done a 4-step. But if you've done a 4-step, you better be out there showing somebody how to do a 4-step, or you're going to forget how to do it. Make sense? You can't give away what you don't have. But this idea that we're going to put a time limit, you can't sponsor anybody till you've been sober a year. Why? We don't have time to wait for you to get a year under your belt, because if you wait a year to start working with others, you're not going to get a year. Working with others is anything that has to do with helping an alcoholic or a dope fiend stay sober. You follow? On page 129, in the bottom of the page, it says, even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and irresponsibility towards the family, it is well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. During those first days of convalescence, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else. Did you get it? During those first days of convalescence. And we're killing people all over AA land by telling people that they can't do anything until they've been sober a period of time. Why can't the person, if the meeting's set up properly and you've got a format there, why can't a newcomer chair a meeting? Why you have to wait 6 months before you can chair a meeting? Because if you wait too long to start feeling responsible, you're not going to stay sober. Again, the book says, unless you can give back, you're not going to be able to keep it. We got these little lathered up buckaroos all over the country right now. one drunk at a time, this juggernaut of new sobriety. Of course, they're taking flack from the old geezers, a lot of them sitting in the back of the room taking their inventory. They're too young. They shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't sponsor anybody till you... Why? Because you see, in sponsorship, I'm not taking these little guys on to raise. I don't want to raise you. I want to get you connected spiritually, pat you on the popo, and go get me another one. That's why so many of you are afraid to do it. Well, what happens if he needs this? What happens if she needs that? Then you connect them to a responsible member of the world unity. Y'all follow what I'm saying? You don't have to have... It's okay in sobriety to say, damn it, I don't know. Let's go to my sponsor and we'll find out. Here. I read this when I talk about working with others. It was in Box 459 around 2000, right before 9/11. It came out. This was at Christmas time. It said, the most frustrating thing about answering intergroup phones, says Bob R., manager of the Intergroup Association in New York City, is finding an AA member willing to take a 12-step call for some sick alcoholic who's phoned us for help. Sometimes it takes up to 20 calls to identify just one willing volunteer. Some of the responses we hear when a live member actually does answer the phone: what's a 12-step call? How did you get my phone number? Do you mean you actually want me to talk to someone who's still drinking? The saddest response came from a member who exclaimed, no, I can't do it. I'm busy all day. Today is my sobriety anniversary. I know, I love you guys. Listen, guys, this is a result of what we call, affectionately, piss-poor sponsorship. We've let too many people off the hook believing that you can get a free ride in this thing. You can't. The Big Book says a price has got to be paid. Everybody gets a chance to work with another drunk, folks. In your own way. Not the way Chris Raymer does it. Not the way Ron does it. The way you do it. You with us? Bill Wilson and Bill's story up in the front, it says, each in our own way carries the message. You don't have to be like me. We don't want you to be like me. Got enough. Thank you. Oh, we want you to be like you. That's who God made you. I've seen it 1,000 times. You'll be sitting in there like this, and a little guy will come up and look around, and he'll come sit right next to you. You follow? Now it's going to heat up. You're going to stay there and be awake, be present. Is your spirit going to be alert enough to see what's happening here? He's coming apart at the seams, sitting right next to you. He keeps looking over at you. What do you think he wants? The time? He's coming undone. Something's happening. Treatment center's told him to go find a sponsor. He's saddled up next to one of you guys, comfortable with you. Now you get to decide. Because they're going to turn right on you right after the meeting. Excuse me a minute, can I talk to you for a second? I need this. I'm not sure about this sponsor thing, but I think I'm supposed to get one. And then you get to decide. You, as a responsible member, so you say, you're going to dust him? Her? Honey, I'd like to help you, but I just started this new job and the kids are sick and I just really don't have time right now. But I could hook you up to somebody that can. I'm going to ask you one more time. Who in the hell's in charge here? I mean, last time I looked, God's in charge. I think God knows that you're starting a new job and the kids are sick. And I think you need something to get your head out of that for a minute and try to help somebody else. Otherwise, you're going to crumble under a deck of cards. Y'all understand what we're saying here? This idea, Myers talks about it from the podium. There's some people that are good sponsors and some people that are bad sponsors. And that lets everybody off the hook. My experience is that every little fruitcake in the world gets an opportunity to turn around and help somebody else. And that's what it's about. The guys that I sponsor, it's all about accountability. If I'm sponsoring you with me, we're through the steps in 30 days, 45 days max, we're through the steps. And if you don't have a commitment, a service commitment, and are not sponsoring somebody, we're having the talk. You follow? Because in this climate, if you can't find somebody to sponsor in a couple of months, you're not even trying. Are you coming before the meeting and staying late? Are you coming in after it? Because that's what I did for 7 years. Chris, for 7 years in Alcoholics Anonymous, did you sponsor anybody? No. And you have the cojones to stand there and say that you were in AA for 7 years? All of these guys, we talked about it earlier today, that come back in after a relapse, come back into that hospital. We asked them point blank. I said, buddy, how many people were you sponsoring? None. Why? We're losing the battle. Success rates through the toilet. There's not enough to go around, especially with the women. Number one email I get from all over the world are women looking for women sponsors. There's thousands of women sober out there. They know exactly where to go to buy that special shampoo. They can tell you all about lighting candles and taking long bubble baths and being good to you. But if it gets down to brass tacks and they got to tell somebody how to finish a 4-step and get off dead center on that stupid amend, they can't do it. And so we keep sending them to the same women over and over and over until they just get wore out. It's time for everybody to get in the trench. Y'all with it? We were laughing about it, driving through Houston in a pouring rainstorm. I looked over to my right-hand side, and they got a big ditch down there, and there's a couple of little Mexican laborers down there with shovels, wet as if they crawled out of the river, and they're just pouring, and they got 7 guys in slickers with clipboards standing on the outside of the ditch looking in, kind of pointing fingers, checking it out. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm preaching to the choir because I know a bunch of you in the room. You're active in service work, you're doing the deal, I've talked to you, you're sponsoring a bunch of people. I'm not even kind of going near you. Welcome. But the cats that are not doing it, you're missing the point. I just touched on it. The first time you walk into an AA club, into an AA meeting, a church fellowship hall, and you walk in and you hear somebody talking in the back, and you sneak around and you look around the corner, and you see one of the little guys that you've been taking through the work, and he's got a big book open, and he's got his finger in this little guy's nose, and he's telling this guy, now listen here, now I want you to pay attention here. I'm going to show you something really important here. Oh my gosh! And I got to tell you, you'll back up like this, and tears will come to your eyes, because you'll start to see exactly what this is about. You've got to give it away in order to keep it. Everybody gets to do it. The question to God is this. Where can I be of the most service? What can I do? There's a great book out there called Alcoholics Anonymous Comes of Age on page 119. It's one of my favorite passages. Unless each AA member follows to the best of his ability our suggested 12 steps of recovery, he almost certainly signs his own death warrant. Drunkenness and disintegration are not penalties inflicted by people in authority. They are results of personal disobedience to spiritual principles. We must obey certain principles or we die. The principle of giving is the keystone of what this whole thing is about. One drunk working with another drunk. One little pillhead working with another little pillhead. That's how this thing works. You give it away, you get to keep it. Remember what we talked about, what goes around comes around? So I'm over here taking care of this little girl that I don't even want. Some of these guys that call me, guys, it's like, oh my God, please God, anything but this guy. I hate this guy. You'll follow? He comes up and says, buddy, I know we've had our differences in the past, but I'm dying here. I really need some help. Can you work with me? Yes. You follow? You can hear an audible click in the universe. Because I'm doing something I don't want to do. But I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. And then over here, I get to see some good stuff coming my way. And I'd do it without that. I'd do it just for the sense of accomplishment. Oh my gosh. It's how XA speakers started in Iceland. Those little guys couldn't do 12-step work because nobody would let them do it. You got to be sober 2 years, sponsor. You got to be sober this long to do this. You got to be sober that long. You see, but you don't understand. I can't stay sober unless I work with somebody, unless I feel useful. So they started XA Speakers. Don't tell me how many thousands of people have been helped by those websites. And all 24-hour radio station out there on the ocean. Hundreds of emails from ship captains out there alone by themselves trying to stay sober, able to access those radios and those downloadable CDs. Because 2 little knucklehead, meth heads, alcoholics told the hierarchy, eat it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think we respect our elders. If you want to talk to me about the book and you want to talk to me and guide me and help me grow spiritually, I'm right there with you. If you want to tell me what I can't do in God's world, I want to tell you to back off. We've got too many people in this fellowship telling people what they can and cannot do. And this is up to God. See, here's what happens. Those guys got me in 1987, and I'm a fried pie. I tried to paint a picture of what I was like. But guys, I was insane. And one of the things that y'all need to understand is I make it sound like, one, that they were really mean, and they weren't. They were very straight with me, because that's what I needed. I couldn't think in grays and hues. It was black or white. And they were very direct with me. But they didn't let me just run. Here, Chris, go get them. They walked with me. They set me down at the meeting and says, Chris, we're going to chair the meeting. Oh, man, I don't want to do this. I know you don't, buddy, but we need to get started because we need somebody to volunteer next month. I'm going to show you how to do it. Come on, get up here. And they walked through me. And they showed me what the words were, and they explained how we do things. You with us? They taught us. That's what we are in Alcoholics Anonymous. We're teachers. We're teachers. One of the biggest problems I have, I'm going to wind this. One of the biggest problems that we have, guys, in our fellowship today is that we have too many people just doing it the same old way that hasn't worked before. Our meeting formats are killing our fellowship. I know we were talking earlier about the grapevine. There was a great little article that talked about open discussion meetings, and everybody bought into that. It was the early 70s. And one of the things that happened is that everybody, in their attempt to bond with the treatment center industry, decided that open discussion meetings were what we needed to do. In the early days, what we had was speaker meetings and step meetings. You with us? That's what we did, early days. But we don't do that anymore. What we did was we got on the open discussion. The newcomer needs a chance to talk about where he's at, because if he doesn't talk about it, he's going to drink over it. But you see, that's not what the big book says. The big book says, shut up talking about it, and go help another drunk, and you can stay sober. But we set up these little rules. 90 meetings in 90 days. Why? Why? It might be okay here in London, when you've got 1,000 meetings. Well, what about some little burg over there in the farmland? They got one meeting a week. Well, how bad do you want to stay sober? 90 meetings in 90 days. But, hon, that means I've got to drive 90 miles to get to a meeting. That means I can't do the farming. I can't be at the kids' recital. I can't do my other stuff. Well, how? I think if we were supposed to go to 90 meetings in 90 days, I think if we were supposed to be in a meeting every day, it would have said so in the book. But it doesn't. It says we're supposed to be of service to our human fellows. We're supposed to reintegrate with the mainstream of life. I'll tell you this right now, folks. I don't care how new you are. If you've got to make a decision between going to your son's Little League game and going to an AA meeting, you better get your ass to that Little League game. We're not painting a good... Y'all will run with this one. I can see already. But Chris said we don't need meetings. It's amazing to me what y'all hear me say. It freaks me. I'm not saying that. I'm sick and tired of the little one-liners killing people in our fellowship. Listen, guys, I didn't have anything going on. When I first got sober, I was in a meeting every damn day, sometimes twice. I went to probably over 100 meetings in 90 days. I mean, I didn't have a problem with that. You with us? But guys, there came a time that I had to go get 2 jobs so I could make financial restitution. Now, do I need to be going to a meeting because meeting makers make it? Or do I need to go pay the people that I've screwed for years? I need to go pay the people I've screwed for years. And then I can go back to the meeting. You follow? You can't work with anybody. Why? Bill Wilson's working with people like that. And that's why he stayed sober. How do you learn to work with others? You work with others. It's not something you can read out of a book. You've got to go do it. And we're going to teach you how. One of the things I do with the AA guys that I get, the sponsees that I get, I spend some really quality time talking to them about, one, the history of Alcoholics Anonymous and the legacies that have been passed down. Y'all realize that just a generation ago, I mean, how many people, hundreds and thousands of people, were dying of this disease, locked up in insane asylums? And all of a sudden, 1935 comes down the pipe, and we got this real thing that worked. Now there's millions of us, just in AA alone, millions of us sober. We are the one thing that has been proven to work for real alcoholics and real drug addicts. This is the one thing that works. It's the responsibility of each of us to carry that message. When they came out with that responsibility placard, AA talked about it. They talked about we. NA does it with a lot of it. We as a fellowship. We as a fellowship. But it starts with me. It starts with me. I'm responsible. If I'm sitting in a meeting and the little newcomer walks in the door and the whole group is sitting and talking and visiting and having a good old time, it's my responsibility to get off my dead ass. Excuse me, I'm leaving for just a second. I'll finish this in a minute and go see if I can grab that newcomer. That's what guys that I sponsor do. They watch the door. They can watch the babe over here too. And I know they're doing that because I'm watching her too. You think that stuff stops when you get sober? You're mistaken. I am happily married, but I watch everything. But I'm also watching the damn door. I'm paying attention to what's going on there. Because if somebody comes in and one of my guys is not there, we're going to have a talk. You follow? My responsibility. I'm not going to look the other way. Hey, buddy, the little new guy came in. He's sitting in the back the whole damn time. Not one of you went and got and saw him. Why? You follow? Because your job is to do that. It's not to visit. You can visit later. Go get the cat. That's what we do. I talk to him about the responsibility to carry this message to the alcoholic, and we get him active in bed. I talk to him about AA etiquette. We don't talk about it much. We're not going to talk about it a lot now. But I have a responsibility to teach you, if I'm sponsoring you, how to dress in an AA meeting, what to do in an AA meeting, how to be punctual. I know some of this has got to go. If you're an old geezer and you need to pee a lot, sit close to the bathrooms so that you're not disturbing everybody in the place every time you get up. You with us? Ladies, I'm telling you, half the complaints that my wife gets are the women she's sponsoring. Those men look at me, they look at me like I'm a whore. Oh, honey, stop dressing like one. Good heavens, I understand fashion, but gee whiz, I mean, it makes an old man like me sweat. You wonder about these little new guys trying to get them to focus? Oh my gosh. Y'all follow what I'm saying? We talk about etiquette. We talk about getting on time and talking to the speaker and being a part of the group. And you see something happening, you take care of it. You be a part of this thing. Because that's what we are. Dr. Bob's deal, one of his best quotes was, carry the message, and if you must, use words. Because people are watching us. They see us in meetings. So pay attention how you dress when you speak from the podium and what you say. And no. It's the way we do it. Pay attention. I started sponsoring guys when I first got sober, not because I wanted to, but again because somebody pointed out that it was my job to do that, and I fought it real hard because I didn't want to, get involved in that, and I thought I could put it off, and I was so lucky that I had somebody that really kind of forced me to do it, and I've been sponsoring people ever since. I have a sponsor, Mark Houston in Mena, Texas. A lot of y'all know Mark. He's a good friend of mine. He's been a good sponsor, good friend, and I love him dearly. And he has people he sponsors, and I sponsor a bunch of guys local and a bunch of a lot long distance. We have a little group called Mad Dogs. We every 2 weeks, on Thursday nights. Tonight they're meeting without me, and there'll be 40 people in there. People I sponsor, the people you sponsor, and the people you follow, my lineage. And we'll get in there and we do an accountability group, a little mini Steel on Steel. I've got those formats if you all ever want them, because y'all can start that stuff. But it's a great way to keep your women. If you're sponsoring a bunch of women, you get together. And it's about holding each other accountable. How many meetings are you going to? How many guys are you sponsoring? What's your weekly commitment? Well, I've committed to come to the meeting on Tuesday night. That's not a commitment. Making the damn coffee and taking the ashtray out's a commitment. Picking the butts up from the parking lot's a commitment. You follow? Everybody gets a service commitment, or we don't play. And we just get a chance to be real with each other. Because the more people, we talked about it earlier, that can get to know me. My exercise program, guys, was completely changed as a result of a little guy that was about 6 months sober, busting my chops about my dishonesty around exercise. I quit smoking nearly 2 years ago, quit smoking cigars as a result of a little guy that was brand new sober calling me on my stuff. You with me? Bastards. I hated them. I know how to tell you. Don't you know who you're talking to? But you see, I give the guys, we have these things in Alcoholics Anonymous, we have these things called unsigned death pacts. And a lot of you guys are a part of that. I'm going to not call you on your stuff, and you don't call me on my stuff, and we're going to be kumbaya until the day cows come home. I love you, love you, love you. You with me? And you can cheat on your wife, and you can lie on your expense reports, and you can do all this other happy horse, but I'm not going to say anything because you'd have to say something with me too. We don't do that. I'm going to watch your back, you're going to watch my back. You with me? I am my brother's keeper. If I can ever help you, you let me know. Meeting formats need to change, folks. I don't know. I love the primary purpose formats with the workbooks. I love the Asbill Sees It meetings. I love the big book meetings where we just read a couple of paragraphs and talk about it. Anything that takes us away from, well, this is your meeting. What do y'all want to talk about today? And everybody laughs and everybody says, I hate those kind of meetings. And yet the meeting formats stay stay open discussion heavy with that. I know some people like that, but a lot of people stay away from our fellowships because of those meetings. They cannot stand those meetings. So let's have a few more big book meetings, literature-based meetings. We can't go wrong with those meetings. Because we're going to end up, one way or another, talking about the steps in God. And that's ultimately what we're after. Y'all cool with that? And, yeah, big time. When I was 14 years old, and I remember about the age that I was, because I was sitting out on the back porch, picnic table thing there, and my dad used to sit out there and drink. And this was long before I started drinking. I drank at 17. The month that Bill Wilson passed away in 1971, I started drinking in January 1971. But I'm sitting there on out on Goat Creek Road. This is country as they come. And I'm sitting out there and I'm crying, and my mom comes out and I'm trying to hide the tears, and it's dusk. And she says, "What's wrong? What's up?" And I'm coming apart. Y'all understand the spiritual malady at 14 years old is kicking my ass. I'm irritable, restless, and discontent. I have this low self-esteem, this feeling of uselessness. The depression's kicking my butt. You with me? Now, 3 more years, I was to find a solution for that. It's called Boone's Farm Apple Wine. But at the time, I didn't have it. But my prayer to God that night after Mom left, and so my prayer to God was, and I was a church guy at the time, in the Baptist church, and my prayer to God was, God, I just feel so useless. I said, if you could just find something that I could be useful at, if you could just give me a job, I'd be cool. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. I wish I'd been more specific with the prayer. I wish it had involved a hot woman and lots of money, but it wasn't. It was, I wish I could be useful. That was the prayer. Fast forward, 3 more years I took a drink. 19 years later, I crawled into an AA meeting after a suicide attempt. I guess about 6 months after that, I'm sitting over at this other group in Louisville, Texas, and I'm helping this old geezer pick up coffee cups, and I got the drill down. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And he's washing coffee cups, and he's got these little glasses off, and I've talked about this 1,000 times. Some of you have heard me talk about it. His name was ML. He's passed away now, but he was old, sober, long time. And he took his little glasses off like I had, and he was wiping his glasses, and his eyes were teared up just like mine are now. And he looked at me and he said, buddy, he says, we need you. It caught me up short. We need you. See, that's like light years compared to keep coming back. If you work it. That's a general statement. He looked me in the face with tears in his eyes, and I want to argue with him about it. Like, what could I possibly do? He says, you need to understand. He says, the legacy is carried from Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob in those first 100 to the next generation and the next generation. And if you break that, then how many other people are not going to get the message? We have so many people out there that want to talk about the damage we did. You drank and drugged it. You caused all this problem. And we seem to want to focus on that. But just think, just the simple act of doing this. I'm not going to drink and drug anymore. I'm done. On a daily basis, I'm going to live my life differently. We don't ever think about the thousands of people, the family members that have come into the program because we simply got sober. The people around us at work that got sober because we simply stopped using. The ripple effect of our sobriety. I think there's a dark side out there, folks, that would like to just simply say this, point blank, that you're not needed, that you're ineffectual, that you're too messed up, that you're too bruised to help anybody. That's what the dark side would like. You're too much of a fried pie. You're too young. You don't fit in. You can't do this. You can't do that. That's what the dark side would like. A fellowship of ineffectual people bound by a bunch of things that don't matter. A bunch of thoughts and attitudes about people that should have kept them to themselves to begin with. M.L. Rowland looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "We need you. Do what's right in front of you. Do the next right thing right. And people's lives will change." Now, buddy, I could sink my teeth into that, because all I ever wanted to do was be useful. Never wanted to be rich. Never wanted to be handsome. All I wanted to do was wake up in the morning and know that my life mattered. We got too many people in our fellowships letting people off the hook. And I'm telling you this right now. I'll end with it. Every one of you little guys sitting in this room that's carried a big book, all busted up, and walked into a meeting and tried to change the topic when it was some stupid, ridiculous. Thank you. For every single person in here that grabbed a little newcomer when you were booked up already and had plenty to do on your plate, but nobody else seemed to want to go out of their way to help them. Thank you. For every woman that stood around and stayed. Every one of you little guys that stayed in here, got a couple of months under your belt, and you're here. You're home. Every one of you old geezers that's got a bunch of years under your belt, and you keep coming back, and you keep taking the flack. You listen to the crap, but you keep coming. You cannot... You'll never know how much I appreciate it. I'm 21 years sober, and I don't have a clue how to stay sober 22 years. Not a clue. You think it's the same. It's not. Every year's different. Every year's different. I'm shaving last year, shaving like this, and I see this antenna coming out of the side of my ear. No, baby, I'm not talking about in my ear. I'm talking about out of the side of my freaking ear. There's a hair this long. I look like an insect. No, nobody told me about that. You think that little whippersnapper's going to tell you about? It's got them old geezers. Yeah, oh my gosh. I don't know what it's like, but I know this. We're on a rocket ride to the coolest life we can imagine, folks. And I'm not trying to blow smoke or paint a picture that this is all Pollyanna. It's tough. It's tough in the trench. When you go to group conscience and you say, "Guys, we've got 70 open discussion meetings. We've got no open literature meetings. We've got no big book studies." I'd like to suggest that we close down a couple of those open discussions and maybe start a big book meeting. You're going to take all kinds of flack. First time you start talking about God in a meeting. Bill Wilson didn't have a problem talking about God in a meeting, but all of a sudden we get real sensitive. No, you be careful with the HP word. I am. I'm so careful with it, I won't use it. It's God. Jeez Louise. First time you get in a meeting though and start talking about it, somebody's going to bust your butt. Somebody's going to jam you on it. For any of you that have taken flack, I want to thank you for doing it. I got to tell you, for every one of you guys that are just brand new here, I've talked to some of you cats that just have a few days sober under your belt. I'm going to tell you the same thing ML told me. We need you. Thanks so much.